This is real life.
That's the bizarre part. Is this is real life?
This is real fucking life.
Like, this isn't like, oh, they banned Splinter Twin. This is like, oh fuck.
This is. Oh my god. It's gonna be. It's like.
Oh wait, we're
not only is it. Don't worry, it's only pneumonia.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Wednesday night of Modern here at MTG Card Market. I'm Matthew Cartier. I'll be joined in the booth by a somewhat under the weather, but still here, Dan Dwan. Dan, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Just all right, though?
Just all right.
Okay.
Yeah, voice might be giving out, but you know.
Ah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so tonight, we've got some great matches for you guys coming up. There's a lot. There's like more than 30 people, or there's like around 30 people here in the store tonight, which is more than we normally get. A lot of the old guys have come out with their decks. I'm sure we're going to see some interesting stuff. And yeah, this should be good. We also have a lot of stuff to talk about in between rounds. There was a Modern GP. It was won by a deck playing Scrying Sheets and Snow-Covered Mountains.
Yes,
it's a little bizarre. We're going to definitely get to that in one of the intermissions.
It's definitely an exciting time for Modern. The GP, a lot of people were looking for new tech.
Yeah.
And ended up just being a lot of nothing, revolutionary was like played there. It was a lot
just
of old
Skred.
stuff. Skred, a lot of cryptic decks, in fact.
Okay, the two decks with 4 cryptic commands apiece in the top 8. Whew! As a blue-red X mage in Modern, it made me very happy. Also, though, one of those decks had 2 lightning bolts instead of 4, and that is a deeply confusing thing to me. So we will certainly get into that.
Right. In the meantime, though, we're gonna throw it down to the floor here and see if we have our match ready yet.
Yes. Oh, and it looks like we do. So this is going to be Simon Kamarau versus Ken Ropiak, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since we've had Simon back in the shop here. He's playing Naya Planeswalkers today.
Yeah, there's like 4/6 drops in that deck.
Yeah, it's just, a bunch of birds, wall roots, and then just every Planeswalker under the sun in those colors. Yeah,
there's Elspeth, there's Garrick. So I believe Simon is on the left here.
Chandra. There's multiple Nissas.
Yeah, the Nissa, the Borderlands Rager version, making an appearance. Nissa Vastwood Seer. And Ken is on what looks to be Infect. I saw a Distortion Strike, and that card really isn't playable outside of the Infect deck. So we'll see, because the thing is Simon plays some 4 paths and some number of Lightning Helices and 4 bolts, and he has blockers. But the question is, does he have what it takes to sort of grind out the late game? If Ken just has an Ink Moth, right, and just waits and waits and waits and finally just goes for it, it'll be interesting to see if Simon can stop it.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
I certainly don't hate the position he's in, because he is playing a deck with a fair amount of removal and a proactive plan.
Yeah,
which is really kind of what you want, right?
The thing is that all his threats though are 4 mana or above.
Absolutely. He cannot close the game out quickly, and like the mulligan we're watching right now, there's a lot of really clunky draws as well. Yeah.
No, and and that's the thing, right? If you open up a hand that's 2 lands, and then a bunch of planeswalkers, you can't keep that. Or 2 lands path, and then 4 drops and higher. Even though you have a path, you have no. I hate to say it, you have no path to play your.
Oh, boo.
To get to your walkers, but yeah, hey, it might be bad, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see here. This is a mulligan to 6 or 5. I think the 6.
It looks like 6, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so shuffling there. Looks like he's going to keep it with the Scry. If Infect is on the play here, this could just be over very quickly.
Yeah,
And that is a Forest, and that is on Noble Hierarch for Ken.
Fine start.
Yep, and we'll see if Simon, possibly has the Lucky Bolt. Instead, he's got a Stirring Wildwood, which isn't punished because, Ken doesn't have an Infect at this turn. He has drawn a Become Immense, however, and we'll see him play an Inkmoth Nexus now.
Choosing not to get in for 1 damage here.
Yeah, sometimes you don't, I guess.
Yeah, I guess this leaves up blue as well.
Yeah, I guess representing blue isn't the worst thing, especially, if you know what Simon is playing. He probably doesn't have something this early that you could potentially Spell Pierce, but
you never know.
It's an option at the very least.
Right. And realistically, you're not gonna. You're usually not 20ing someone unless you're forced into that.
Yeah, that's not normally the plan that Infect wants to go on. But yep. So Simon here looks like he is going to. Okay, so he plays a Scavenging Ooze, so he's going to go to 17. So Scavenging Ooze, powerful graveyard hate card, does make it more difficult for Ken to cast Become Immense, but at the same time, Ken does have 2 Hierarchs here.
Yeah, this is
a swing for 7.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah. So Might of Old Krosa there, doing some work.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Scavenging Ooze is unlikely to ever be more than just a bear.
Right. Yeah. So if Simon doesn't have a form of interaction that can stop the Ink Moth, he's basically dead. Mm-hmm. Because the Scavenging Ooze, obviously isn't going to kill Ken from 18 this turn, and we'll see him play a tapped Stomping Ground. You've got to wonder if he's holding up Path here and just hoping that Ken doesn't have a protection spell.
Well, the thing is, Ken is going to be able to leave up 3 mana and just attack for lethal because he has double exalted.
Yeah, but I don't know if Ken has the. I guess he just has to sort of go for it here
absolutely.
Without a second threat. Simon though will have the Path to take care, and I think Simon expected Ken to have protection and just lose the game, but instead he doesn't. And now Ken is in a really tough spot.
Ken without an Infector. Now he's given Simon a really big window.
Time to Become Immense.
If Ken's got a second...
he's got a second Ink Moth up there? Oh, brutal. Okay. Yeah, so Ken, with that second Ink Moth, gonna be able to close it out next turn then. Especially because Simon is now out of removal that isn't damage-based.
Right.
There's a serve with the Scoos, though.
Yep. That'll be the second hit he takes from that.
Okay.
Ooh, and this is a Chandra. Now this is gonna gun down one of the Noble Hierarchs.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how this changes the calculus for Ken.
Well, this means that Ken...
he shows a Distortion Strike, representing that last point of Infect, and so Simon is just going to scoop it up.
Right. I think Simon's only line was just pray that Ken had nothing.
Right.
Because this would allow him to put Ken on... this would allow Ken to only swing for 2 Infect and put Simon at 9.
Right.
But that also means he's dead to literally any pump spell.
Absolutely.
Or another Hierarch.
Yeah, and so, Ken with, Become Immense and... Distortion Strike there. Pretty much just... That's a classic Infect game, You just ding him a couple of times with your Ink Moth next eye, and against a deck that doesn't really have, because, Simon has a lot of ground blockers, so he's, very strong, I think, against, Glistener Elf draws. Mm-hmm. But against an Ink Moth or a Blighted Agent draw, he's really got to hope he has a removal spell every single time, and that Ken doesn't have protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is one of the reasons why, as we saw this weekend from GP Dallas, Infect taking 3 of the top 8 spots there. Yeah,
it's an extremely proactive deck.
Mm-hmm.
You can get hated out quite hard, but you require your opponent to have the answer and have that answer immediately.
Right. It's not like, if you draw a Wrath, you might get out of this. It's like, no, you are going to be dead this turn unless you have specifically instant speed, non-damage based removal.
Right. And even
then you can just Vines it.
Right. Even in a lot of the matchups where they have a lot of removal,
mm-hmm.
A lot of times you can get around that.
Yeah. I mean, there's cards. Especially, so there's a new card that's seen a lot of play in Infect Blossoming Defense, printed in Kaladesh. Tom Ross, I actually haven't looked at the list super closely from this weekend to see how many copies they were playing, but Tom Ross's list from the first Modern Open, once this card was legal, was playing 4, and giving your creature hexproof, getting around Spellskite, and also giving you incidental pump is very strong, because you can either use this as a way to save your creature from a piece of spot removal, or if your opponent's shields are down, you can use it to get in the last points of damage that you need.
Yeah, I mean, +2/+2, obviously, a little worse than the +4/+4 you
mm-hmm.
can get in a lot of cards on Modern. But the fact that it gets around Spellskite, this is one of the very few cards that can get around Spellskite.
Absolutely.
And that's, quite important, especially since most decks pack Spellskite as hate for this.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? You play your Spellskite, you think you're safe, but no one's ever safe because Blossoming Defense now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean... sometimes Spellskite isn't good enough, especially if the Infect player draws a Pendelhaven or multiple Noble Hierarchs, because you're still attacking for 2 or 3 a turn, just getting in chip shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ken gonna look at a hand here, Glistener Elf. I think it's a Blighted Agent. No, it's a Taxing Probe. Okay, this hand looks real. If Simon basically needs all the blockers, because this hand looks very fast for right. Ken. Ooh, but we are going to see double bolt in hand, though. That is an outstanding draw for Simon there.
Double bolt. So Ken is going to... I mean, Ken does have a Vines to protect it, But
I don't think you can't even really play the elf until turn 3 now.
Right.
And Simon, I think, drew a path off the top too. So really, everything's coming up camera out this game.
Yeah, Simon choosing to leave the shields up as opposed to playing an Oath of Nissa.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably smart because it allows you to fire off a bolt and step, then untap, fire off a bolt and a path. So yeah, Ken, I mean, he really needs to draw. What he really needs to do is sort of bait Simon into a fight over one Infector, because he does have double vines, and then play around the oh man, and Simon with a Helix draw too, and then play around the and then try to play around all the removal in Simon's hand.
Right.
But like, there's a lot of removal in Simon's hand.
There's a lot of removal, and the problem is, if Ken passes turn 4 with nothing, Simon just jams a Planeswalker, and then you can have the fight again the turn after.
And the thing is that I think Simon has a copy of Chandra. What's the format? Chandra Pyromaster. Yeah.
Chandra
So this card is insane against Infect because you just ping their threats. If it's not an Inkmoth Nexus, you basically just get to kill it. Or force them to use a spell countering something that's not a spell from you.
And this is incredibly awkward for Ken, because he knows that Simon has double bolt. So if he plays, he's
just going to pass.
If he plays a Glistener Elf, you fight over here, and then you just play Chandra, and it kills it.
Right. Okay, so Simon here with a Relic of Progenitus. I know that Simon main decks these. He is going to exile graveyards to draw. This will, slow down any plan that Ken has to go towards Become Immense. Yeah. But I do think, that this investment of mana leaves the shields down a little bit for Ken to untap, slam an elf, and just hope that, and hope that Simon has, hope that Simon doesn't, you can't just, kill his creature with the absolutely insane amount of removal he has in hand. That being said, he's left Bolt up, right? So...
Right. Well, this play was... Wild Defiance is a very good draw. Yeah, Simon's line to crack the Relic there was he wanted to hit a land drop. He really wanted to get to 4.
And he didn't, and... Wild Defiance is, can we, I mean, this is insane. That turns off the bolts completely. Right? So Wild Defiance here, an enchantment from, I believe that's Avacyn Restored, yeah? So whenever a creature you control becomes a target of an instant or sorcery, that creature gets +3/+3 till end of turn. This just negates all the bolts.
Yep, but it does look like Simon did find his
land.
Yep, 7th land. So he's going to play a Johnny, and the Johnny's going to...
presumably tap a land down.
Yep, keep a land tap down.
I mean, the thing is, though, is that Simon's hand is completely dead, except for the path, and Ken does have a Vines, so he's really going to need to... anything Ken does now negates the bolt effects that Simon has.
Right, but keep in mind, Wild Defiance is instant or sorcery
specific. So he can Johnny it.
He can Johnny.
Oh, he can also play the Chandra. Yeah.
Chandra it as well.
Okay, so Ken draws another Gitaxian Probe, and he'll fire that off, going to 13 to do so. Wow. Okay, so Simon now with double. Okay, double path is actually really good.
Double path is excellent. Double bolt, not so good.
The thing
anymore.
is that Ken has double vines, so Simon has to go untap, attempt to a Johnny Helix, and then
path.
Yeah, and Ken with another land here, if he has another 1-mana protection spell, can really mess with that. So this is not looking ideal for Simon. And actually no, so yeah, Ken almost, unless Simon does everything on the stack, Ken will have Become Immense mana up at some point. So here's the Ajani Helix. He's gonna fire that one off.
Okay, and I thought I saw Blossoming Defense in Ken's hand as well.
Oh wow. Okay, so I think the Glistener Elf lives. Because Ken will Vines here.
All right, we're gonna start with the Vines.
Yeah. So Simon has to respond to this, obviously.
Right, and if Ken remembers his trigger, there's going to be a +3/+3 on the stack as well.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter all that much.
It will absolutely not matter.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember your triggers.
Yeah, and the thing is, if all this happens and Ken gets to untap without using the Become Immense in hand, the Become Immense plus the Wild Defiance is just an instant kill.
Yes, that's just lethal.
Which is insane. So here's a path, and I think Ken just has to go all in. Yeah. You just have to fight over this. Exhaust your resources. You don't have another way to win. Right. And there's an Ajani.
He took this line knowing every card in Simon's hand.
Right. So he's got to be somewhat confident.
Right. And this is your only window, right? Mm-hmm. You have to have 3 protection spells here.
He's gonna let it get pathed.
Looks like he's
decided not to. Does he have another Infector though? I'm a little bit concerned in this situation for Ken.
Right.
Because now Simon gets to stick a Chandra.
Yeah. And
this is a little bit concerning to me for Ken. But Simon's gonna just let him untap here.
Okay.
He's gonna take a draw step, finds a Pendelhaven. And is he just gonna have to pass back?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a Helix targeting Ken.
Without much use for those anymore.
Yeah.
He's just gonna go to face. And let's not forget that Ken is effectively at 1. Because Simon has double bolt and a Helix.
Right, and a Johnny.
The Helix from that Johnny, I mean.
Go to 4.
Oh, it looks like we might have missed the fetch or something.
Yeah, I think so. Ken's gonna scoop it up. I really think fighting over the Glistener Elf had to be the play there.
Yeah, as it turned out, didn't matter. He was dead anyways. Because Ken was at 9 at that point, and then you're just dead to Helix bolt.
Oh, you're right, yeah. That's fair.
But yeah, without another Infect creature in hand, if you allow it to die, what is your path to victory anymore?
Yeah, you don't have one.
Yeah, especially since you had enough spells in hand to fight over.
Yeah.
If you knew you didn't, then I could see allowing the path to resolve.
Yeah. The thing is though is that Simon, like the thing is like I don't think Ken was dead because if Simon had tried to kill the Glistener Elf with 2 paths, then it goes back to Ken. And he draws the Pendelhaven, plays it, and then just kills Simon.
Yes.
Right? So, like, Simon doesn't get to use that burn if Ken fights over the if Ken fights over the elf.
Actually, Simon may have just had lethal that turn.
No, because remember, Simon played the Ajani and plussed.
No, and then the following turn, he attempted to Helix the elf.
But he might have had lethal.
He might just have lethal on that turn.
That's
because
true.
Ken didn't fetch or anything, so Ken might have just been at 9 already.
That is very possible. I also Ken, as we saw there, so Ken had 2 forests and 2 breeding pools in play, and those are all the mana sources that Infect plays that are colored. Right. So even his fetch was just effectively a pay 1 Lotus Petal for Delve sort of thing. So interesting there. I think it's possible that by not being physically at the table we missed something that.
Well, it is also possible that Simon could have been playing around something like Dispel.
Yeah, you're right.
It feels pretty silly to lose to a Dispel from a position where you're probably favored.
Right.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised that Ken didn't fight over that Glistener Elf.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the sequence was Simon plays a Johnny and pluses, and then Ken plays the elf.
Yes.
And then Simon attempts to path the elf, right? If Ken successfully fights...
Simon attempts to Helix the elf with the Johnny.
Right, okay, yeah, so but back to Simon's turn.
Right.
Simon attempts to Helix the elf. Ken has protection to fight through that and double path, and the Wild Defiance for the bolts. Right. Which means that if Ken has just fought over the elf, it goes back to Ken's turn, and he gets to kill Simon.
And especially since, with the sequencing, it's not like Simon can play Chandra and then ping it with Chandra or anything.
No, he didn't have enough mana.
So the only way that Ken loses is if Simon has a 3rd path.
Right. Yeah. So I really do like I don't even know if Simon had triple white.
I don't think he did either. There's a possibility we might have misread Ken's hand.
Right.
If he didn't have double vines.
Right. For sure.
There was definitely a blossoming defensive hand, and obviously at least 1 vines.
Yeah.
But if he did have 3 protection spells, I definitely think that was the point in time where you wanted to fight.
Most certainly. Yeah. So these players getting ready to go to game 3 here. Infect going to be on the play. Always a good spot for Infect to be in. As we look at Ken's hand, we're going to see a Become Immense, a Might of Old Krosa, a Breeding Pool, another land, and an Inkmoth Nexus. I think this has to just be a keep. Simon, obviously the nut draw here is Ghost Quarter for him. When your opponent's only Infector is a Ghost Quarter or is an Inkmoth Nexus, and you have I think he has a 1 main deck Ghost Quarter, you're just like, got him.
Yeah, I mean, you can give it hexproof in response.
True. This is a good point. And that's also something, if you're playing against Infect, I highly recommend, and you have a Ghost Quarter you want to use on your opponent's Inkmoth, and you're going to do it on their turn. When they, on their turn, and this is a little bit dangerous because you can get blown out if you don't have enough removal, but your opponent goes animate my Ink Moth, and you say in response I'll Ghost Quarter, they have to animate it again.
Yes.
And then protect it, which means that there's the possibility that they're not going to be able to, lethal you with it and have blown some protection spells. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a much safer play to just be like, end of your turn, Ghost Quarter you, but sometimes you don't have that luxury.
Absolutely.
So
it's important that a lot of these protection spells only can protect creatures.
Yeah.
And do not protect target permanent.
Yeah. Ooh, target permanent, gross, gains hexproof.
Yeah, I mean, not commonly played anymore, but they have seen play in the past.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, there's a what's the card? This card, Faith Shield. This is a target permanent card. I mean, it's in white. Infect's not going to play it, but I have been blown out with this card by the Fateful Hour at the GP level. So I was in the 1-2 bracket. It wasn't like I wasn't at the top tables for this, but yeah, I was like Electrolyze You, and they're like, oh, Fateful Hour, Faith Shield. Gross. All right, so Ken here, with a Hierarch, which again, Hierarch especially is critical to the Ink Moth draws, because you don't want to just be animating your Ink Moth Nexus blind. Like, you can't, if you have one land and an Ink Moth, you don't want to animate that because it's awful.
Yeah. But
and Ken drawing an Elf here, so he can really apply pressure by playing the Elf and the Ink Moth Nexus in this turn. So now it's back to Simon, and Simon didn't bolt there, so this is looking favorable. I think there's a path in hand. Okay.
Right. Well, so part of the problem with Simon's deck is that...
Oh, an Apostle's Blessing for
Apostle's
Ken.
Blessing is quite good.
Yeah.
So, no point in animating both here. I just attack with Glistener Elf.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 damage. If Ken tries to get funky, you can do stuff. I mean, you do have a theoretical 6 with Apostle's Blessing up, but just getting in for 2. This is what makes Infect so strong, is that this is just a 20% poison swing, and there's no chance that Ken can ever recover, or there's no chance that Simon can ever recover any of that life.
No,
he's gonna double fetch.
Yeah, Ken is actually leaking a lot of information here by playing the tap rating pool.
Because he's like, oh, I only have enough to do this much mana worth of things.
If you play that untapped, that represents a lot, right? That represents like I could have double blue spells, I could have multiple vines and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think in this situation, like, if Simon were on a deck like Burn, I could totally see Ken's line, because you don't want to take the extra damage and you have a lot of mana up. But in this situation, I feel like the opportunity cost of playing the land untapped is very low. So yeah, and also next turn, Ken is going to have access to so much mana. Like, he's going to attack, he can do all the things.
Yeah.
And so Simon here going to play a Plains and going to stick a Wall of Roots. This will slow down the aggression from the Glistener Elf, forcing Simon into the air, or forcing Ken.
But
that
was a Noble Hierarch draws.
Oh,
so
brutal.
If we play the Noble Hierarch and animate the Ink Moth, he can just attack for 3 and still leave up Apostle's Blessing.
Right, and that's insane, right? Like, Simon, Simon is not going to have 2 removal spells off of Wall of Roots plus Sacred Foundry. He can only have 1, right? There's no green. So, like, there's no 1-mana green removal spells that are going to kill this Ink Moth Nexus. So, this is a potential... So, Simon at 2 poison, and Ken can get in 4. He has a Might of Old Krosa. I guess you want to leave up Apostle's Blessing, though, so you just animate the Ink Moth and Beam for... I mean, 3 is a lot. Oh, no, he's gonna...
Oh, he's gonna proactively...
Does he have another protection spell for this elf?
He does have a Vines.
I think he named green, and he's gonna attack for 3.
Yeah, I do not like this line.
Because it's harder for...
because now Simon can just...
Right.
I mean, Simon also doesn't really want to burn the path here, because, because Ink Moth is extremely difficult to interact with.
Right, absolutely. Again, obviously Simon hoping for that, like, Dream Ghost Quarter rip, but now with him at 5 Infect...
This Gideon is an excellent draw, though.
Oh, baby. Gideon Jura in the house.
Right, so...
So Ken is going to have to waste some resources one-shotting this thing.
Yeah, Ken can become immense the Ink Moth this turn and kill the Gideon.
Which I think he has to.
Right.
There's just no other. Wild Defiance again, draw from Ken. So if he plays the Wild Defiance, animates the Ink Moth, I think he can kill it in 7. 7 isn't good enough. Okay. but he's going to play the Wild Defiance here. This does leave his Hierarch open to just getting blown up by the Gideon, unless he somehow kills the Gideon this turn. It is notable that... Okay, so Gideon's going to go to 1. No. So there's a trigger, so...
So it's going to be a 3 just from the Exalted, and then plus another 3, and then plus 4.
Yeah, so 3, 3, 4. So that was an 11 power.
10.
10 power.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's because it's
3, 3, 4.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so now Simon here, a significantly less good play with Garrick Wildspeaker.
Mm-hmm.
Garrick. Yeah. So this is a different art that we're showing you on the right side here. Allows Simon to untap some mana to, he just made a. And Might of Old Krosa, and that's going to do it. Simon flips over the fetch in hand. Ken Ropiak taking it down over Simon Camerau with Infect over Nea Planeswalkers here. Wild Defiance. What a card. Truly this card. So good when this card is unbelievably good against just so many decks. Resolving this card against, say, a Jeskai control deck is super powerful. It turns off all their bolts and their snap bolts. It forces them to have paths. And then you just know what you can fight over and what you don't have to fight over. It also prevents your guys from getting picked off by, main phase Electrolyze and stuff. So, yeah, no. Wild Defiance, showing its worth there, enabling Ken to take down the Gideon with no problem, and then just... Oh, I have all the damage on this Inkmoth Nexus. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Dan is out of the booth right now, finding another match. So we should be bringing that to you shortly. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. And yeah, so sideboarding here, we saw a Spell Pierce. Simon with I don't know what that card is. Chat, what's the card next to the Blood Moon? Blood Moon obviously can be very good against Infect. If they have a basic forest and some Hierarchs, they obviously they just get around it. But Blood Moon turns off the Inkmoths, and as we saw, this Simon's deck really struggles with Inkmoth Nexi. So yeah, Simon also playing multiple Elspeth Suns champion. Okay, it is a Pyroclasm. And so Dan is nodding to me as he comes back into the booth. What are we about to watch, Dan?
I'm not entirely sure, but it is a Nick Kajiri special.
Oh, yeah. So, for those of you who were here last week, you may remember Nick Kajiri playing a deck with 4 main deck Phyrexian Obliterators. So, Nick Kajiri, known to be a brewer, known to play some really off-the-wall stuff. At one point, he was playing a Thing in the Ice deck with Hunted Horror in it. Yeah, so Nick Kajiri gonna be on the right here. And who is he playing against, Dan?
Yakov Calmero.
Oh, yes. Okay. So Yakov alternates between decks, and I know this because one time I sat down against him expecting him to be on Affinity, and he was on Boggles, so I lost. I was like, oh, I kept the nuts against Affinity. This has an Electrolyze and 2 bolts. And then he was like, turn 1, Slippery Boggle. And then I lost. So, but I don't know, because he also sometimes plays Spicy Brews. So
we'll find out.
We shall see. I mean, this is the Spicy Brewmaster battle right here, assuming Yakov isn't just playing Affinity or something.
I think Nick was on Devotion deck of some sort.
Okay. And do you know what the game count is here?
This is game 3.
This is game 3. All right. Bum, bum, bum. The deciding game in this match, Stuff versus Stuff. We do not know. Some sort of devotion, you said, for Nick?
I think I heard Rakdos Devotion, but I'm not sure if you were just saying things.
I'm just going to go Devotion here, and I'm just going to put left deck because we're unsure. Because I saw, when I walked by Yakov today, and I saw, black and white cards, and so he might be playing some Hate Bears variants. We shall see.
Yeah. Also in the room, we have a couple players playing some Vintage.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, full, power.
Actual Vintage. All right, so it looks like red-black cards over there.
Okay.
Yakov, looking at his hand, I see a Bajuka Bog. I see I don't even know anymore. All right, we're going to go with Rakdos Devotion for Kajiri here.
All right.
So... All right, clowning around a little bit for the camera. Here we go. We are underway. I don't know what's in Yakov's hand. I don't recognize any of that art.
Yeah. Well,
Nick gonna start it off though with a Bloodstained Mire Crack.
All right, we've got some signets in there. What else can we see?
In Yakov's. Oh my god. So Yakov with a swamp. So this is gonna be spicy.
All right, and I think that was an isolated chapel as well.
Yeah. So black white something.
Yep.
All right. We'll put black white something in there, so it's at least a little bit more informative for the viewers. But this is by no means a known deck.
I mean, it could just be black white spirits or
Yeah, of course. Black white tokens. Yeah,
Tokens,
absolutely. So Nick here, looking at his hand, got a mountain, a signet. I think probably obviously the best turn 2 play is a signet here. He's gonna drop a Dragon Skull Summit. What? So what is that? Is that called just Rakdos Signet?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So wait, no, that's a. Is that a tal? I think that's a talisman.
Oh, sure.
Chat. What's the black red talisman help? Isolated Chapel here. Gajeri gonna go to 18 to fetch. Isolated Chapel from Yakov. Gajeri gonna go to 18 to fetch here.
So no play on turn 4. It looks like Nick had a very land heavy hand.
Yeah. Passing back to Yakov though.
Ooh, I see Either
Yeah, so do I. Talisman of Dominance.
In any case, they're all mana rocks.
So Talisman of Dominance is blue-black, but this is what the Rakdos... This is essentially the same thing as the Rakdos one. And...
Is that Liliana?
I think it's a Liliana.
Yeah.
All right, let's go! Liliana, Heretical Healer, hits the table. Forget about Talismans. We've got Planeswalkers here.
Hey, creatures.
Creatures that turn into Planeswalkers. Yeah. So... Nick here with a 4th land. So if he doesn't have a 5-drop, what's happening? Oh wait, is that a Vampire Nighthawk?
That is a Vampire Nighthawk.
But there's 5 mana.
Ooh.
What? Oh, that's Demigod.
Demigod
of
of Revenge.
Hell yes.
Oh man, this taught people how triggers worked.
Oh man. And Yakov just gonna go to a solid 15. Gonna swing back up to 17 with the Liliana Heretical Healer's lifelink ability.
And Gajeri got to fall to 16.
Gajeri at 15 because you used the Talisman as well.
Oh, absolutely.
What is that? A Doom Traveler?
That is a Doom Traveler.
All right, Doom Traveler into Flesh. Oh wow, this is some value from Yakov here. So Yakov plays a Fleshbag Marauder.
So this also play in the rally decks.
Yeah.
Well, the original version of the rally deck. So this is going to also flip Liliana. This is going to get him a zombie from the flip. Liliana...
What does this flip into? Or what's the name of the... It's Liliana something Necromancer?
Yeah. And then...
There we go. Define Necromancer. All right, it flips into this.
Yep.
Oh my god. That is some insane value
so
right there.
Liliana's plus ability is the same as Liliana...
Liliana,
the 3-mana Liliana.
Yeah.
But the -X, he could have just got back to Doom Traveler.
Right. Yeah, so Define Necromancer in play here. So Gajeri, obviously trying to top deck a Demigod, Demigod of Revenge.
Did he just top deck that Bonfire? Or is that in hand?
I think that Bonfire was in hand. It has to have been in hand. There's no way it wasn't in hand.
He's
got a Vampire Nighthawk here.
It is easy to miss the mirror, accidentally mess up and
That would be very sad.
I don't remember seeing that Bonfire in hand.
Vampire Nighthawk here coming down from the mid-rangiest of mid-range. The unbeatable uncommon. Flying Death Touch lifelink. Watch out. That being said, if Yakov has another sacrifice effect, Nick could be in a lot of trouble.
I mean, Nick is close to Bonfire for 3.
And that is a Bile Blight.
All right.
Oh yeah, get out of here, Vampire Nighthawk. 3 toughness will forever be the worst thing about you. And here's an attack for 5.
Yep.
So Gajeri gonna go to 10. Wow, this is Yakov putting on some serious pressure.
Well, let's not forget that if Nick just draws another Demigod, that's just a swing for 10.
You're not wrong. That is very true. So plus here, both players gonna discard Aether Vial going down, Talisman going down. I guess Nick can just Bonfire for 1 even, or 2, and it kills all the things, right? Boop boop. Yeah, there it is.
And this is going to be a Bonfire too. This is also going to do some work to Liliana as well.
Yeah, yeah. So choosing to damage the Liliana instead of Yakov himself.
Ooh, do you see what's in hand?
No.
It's a Gray Merchant.
For who?
For Gajeri.
All right. Gray Merchant. Another plus here from the Liliana. Gajeri going to discard the Future Sight Graven Cairns, the black-red filter, or the black-red filter land that was printed early on. Gray Merchant obviously, gets better. Oh, did he draw an Obliterator here?
He did draw a Phyrexian Obliterator.
So he's going to have to take a point of damage to cast it, but that seems really good.
Seems quite good.
5 mana, though. Oh, no. Play your Obliterator first. Get so much more value. No, he's just going to play the Gray Merchant, Drain Gain. So I guess this does protect... the Phyrexian Obliterator from any sacrifice effects that Yakov might have in the deck.
But the problem was with the active Liliana, Nick is likely going to be discarding this Phyrexian Obliterator.
Oh, you're right. What is that card?
A removal spell of some variety?
Maybe, and a surgical extraction here.
Alright, looks
Target
like...
your Demigod of Revenge.
No,
what's happening, chat?
No shenanigans allowed.
Oh.
No.
Oh, Geth's Verdict. All right. Chat actually just saving us. But yeah, another sacrifice effect from...
So my suspicion is that Nick may not have had the... so even if Nick did have the mana to play the Phyrexian Obliterator, Yakov can just go and get Fleshbag Marauder.
Right, you're right. Yeah, which is why I think he played the
But at the same time, then Nick just loses it
to the Lily Plus.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, we see that in the yard here. So this is basically where the black-white deck I think wants to be. Right. I have Liliana. You're plussing it. Seems fine. We're gonna use this black-white sacrifice.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Nick as well, there's no more busted draws of Demigod, right?
Right. Before, he can't just 10 you. That's all right. Boros Reckoner are going to be the draw here, but that just gets fleshbagged, right? Like, there's not a...
Potentially gets fleshbagged. We'll see what Yakov wants to do here.
Oh, he's going to ult that. Oh. Someone tell me what the ult does. We're looking it up. All right.
So the ult is pretty good. It means that whenever a creature goes into the graveyard, it gets resummoned onto your side.
And he played a... Merciless Executioner, which allowed him to get the Boros Reckoner. That's some good stuff. Gajeri with a draw step, not going to find anything. Yakov with a land, going to force Gajeri to discard another Obliterator. Attack for 3 here.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that Nick just doesn't have quadruple black.
Well, he has a Talisman, though, right?
He has a Talisman.
And Blood Crypt, Dragon Skull Blood Crypt.
I don't know if he has the 3rd Blood Crypt.
He has 2 Blood Crypts and a Dragon Skull. Look at the first 4 lands.
Oh, I guess he does. In that case.
So this is, I guess. He doesn't want Yakov to own the thing though. Yeah. And also Nick is at somewhere around 8 actually. So, gonna bring back a Doom Traveler here with the Liliana ability. Serve here, take him to 5. Oh man, this is some brutal stuff.
Yep.
And
yeah, it looks like
that is going to do it. The scoop to the Liliana Defiant Necromancer emblem. Words that I didn't think I was going to be saying. Also, as pointed out in chat, it's a Gray Merchant question for who, right? Like, that was insane. The Black-White Sacrifice deck really just showing how powerful some of those synergies are.
Well, I mean, importantly, it was just Nick just never found a way to answer the Planeswalker.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
He had a couple of draws, couple turns to draw into Demigod.
Yeah.
And chose to run out the Gray Merchant as opposed to the Phyrexian Obliterator on that turn. But other than that, it just couldn't answer the turn 3 Planeswalker.
Dictate of Erebos, also in Yakov's deck. Wow. That is pretty nutty.
Don't even predict. We're going to see if we can find another match here. No?
Yeah. 12 minutes left in the round. Fingers crossed that some people went slow and grindy. Yeah, modern can be a silly format sometimes, and that was just decks. The decks firing reasonably well. If Nick at any point had drawn a Demigod before they got surgical, like that seems pretty all right. Demigod of Revenge, of course. Demigod of Revenge. There it is in the side. Yep, so it is a cast trigger, so it's not an ETB, so you have to just get it right away. Gives you 5 devotion to either black or red. And yeah, so sometimes you just a couple of these get killed, and then you do the third one, and you 15 them out of the game. So yeah, we're gonna hopefully Dan can find another match. If not, we'll bring it back up to the booth. We'll chat about modern results from this weekend's GP, and stuff like that. So, and we have some requests in the chat. Some Bant Eldrazi requested from generic name SH, and Cubs fan requesting Jund. Cubs fan, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if there's a single Jund deck in the room. I feel like everyone might be on the Spice Life, and just trying to live dangerously with some more brewery stuff. There's multiple Bant Spirits decks that I know of. There's at least one person on Lantern. I'm pretty sure there's more than one Boggles deck, so I mean, obviously Yakov very well positioned to beat a Boggles deck with a billion main deck edicts, but we will most certainly see. Player's going to sign the match slip here. Yeah, so very interesting match. Two brews sort of smashing into each other. Yakov really just running hot with that Planeswalker. Very well done by him. Sahelia, Mary, or Eggs. Greg Pino, I don't know if I saw Martin in the room before it started. It's possible. Actually, I can just look at this player sheet. Martin Sheeler is not here. And as to Eggs, I don't know if people play Eggs here, or if there's an Eggs player. Let's see. Well, if there is, we'll let you know. There's nothing. No one immediately jumps off the players list as being an Eggs player, but it's possible that exists. Dan's still out of the room here, trying to corral us another match. I guess Martin did used to play Eggs as well. Yeah, playing Ameria, sometimes with a black splash, most recently with a red splash, and also Adnos and apparently Eggs. All right, so Dan has given me the no-go on finding future matches, so we're going to throw it back up to the booth real quick, and we're going to talk about the results from GP Dallas. There was a Modern GP this weekend. It was won by a deck that, not many people considered capable of winning a Modern GP.
Yeah, Scred Red.
Scred Red, named after the card Scred.
Mm-hmm.
Very
extremely mana efficient.
Very reasonable card to play sometimes, particularly if you're playing 22 snow-covered lands in your deck. Mm-hmm. So in the top 8 we had 2 decks that played 4 copies each of cryptic commands. Mm-hmm. We had
BBD. Topping against Dredge, who unfortunately played against Scred Round 1, which has 4 main deck relics.
4 main deck relics, and also 3 main deck Anger of the Gods. Yeah. What's really hard to beat when you're Dredge? 7 main deck hate cards. Yeah. Good lord.
Dedicated hate. Yeah.
Obviously, Kevin Mackey, the pilot of the Scred deck, just, very much metagaming to beat Dredge, although Scred normally does play some number of main deck relic and main deck Anger, but also just happens to line up really, really well with Dredge.
Also, when you look at how much removal the deck has, you have 4 Screds, you have 4 Bolts, you have 3 Angers, and that's on top of Koth, on top of Chandra.
Yeah,
there's just an immense amount of removal, and that's just like against a format where you think there's going to be a lot of effect. A lot of a linear aggressive decks. That's exactly where you want to be.
Right, and there's also for against Dredge, another card that you can come in really big is Batterskull. Mm-hmm. Having a vigilant lifelinker, so you're gaining 8 life every turn cycle, does make it hard sometimes for Dredge to kill you if they haven't flipped their Rally or their Scourge Devil into the yard.
Right.
And it can just be. It's just a very frustrating card for them to beat sometimes. Other times it just goes so wide that it doesn't matter. But
and you do have a fair amount of ramp too. So you have Mind Stones and whatnot. So playing turn 3 Koth is not unreasonable in a lot of decks. have a lot of difficulty beating Planeswalkers.
Yeah, I mean, Koth of the Hammer, you know, a very, very powerful Planeswalker, comes in and just starts turning your mountains into 4/4s that beat. Also, you know, can give you a huge injection of mana late in the game if you want to do something with a lot of mana at once. And also the emblem is, like, really, really hard to beat. The emblem is so good.
Well, part of the problem with beating Koth is that you play it, immediately it goes to 4.
Right, and then it goes to 5.
Which is out of bolt range. You goes to 5, and then now you're, like, within ult range. And once you ult it, you know, if you're a mid-range deck, you can't apply that much pressure.
Yeah, and the thing is also, the ult is, like, actually just insane against, like, Infect, right? Like, oh, tap my mountain, ping your guy, protection, tap my mountain, ping your guy. Like, you will run them out of cards so quickly.
And like, if you play the Koth, it's likely you have at least 3 mountains in play, if not 4.
Absolutely. And so then, yeah, so Koth, obviously, you know, it's a 4 of in the main deck here. Obviously a centerpiece of the deck. Like, he just does everything that it wants to. Another very interesting inclusion is the card Eternal Scourge. This has a 2 of in the main deck. This is just a recursive threat that is colorless. So the deck plays Blood Moon.
Yeah,
and this, you can cast this with anything. You can also cast it from exile, so you can anger on this and it doesn't matter.
Well, right. One thing with Eternal Scourge is it's very difficult to get rid of. Because, you know, if it's targeted by anything, it exiles itself. So if you're playing, you know, 3 main deck angers, this is exactly the kind of, you know, medium threat that you want.
Yeah, you just anger their stuff, you play your Eternal Scourge, you beat a couple times, like, oh, they target it with something, fine. Like,
or you just block for days.
You can target yourself with Relic to put it back in your exile.
Yep.
That is some sweet synergy.
Yeah, if they manage to get this into the graveyard, you know, via discard or something.
Counter, counter, Supreme Verdict, whatever.
Yep. You can always just put it back in the graveyard. I've seen decks go so far as play Surgical, and then Surgical themselves to put 4 of them into exile. Might be a little deep, but there's a lot of interesting.
That is a little bit deep.
There are a lot of interesting synergies.
If Eye of Ugin were still legal, that would be sick. Just like,
if this costs 1 mana, it'd be quite good. And I believe, what else was in top 8? There were 3 infects.
Yeah, so there were the top 8, so the top 8, we've got a Titan Shift, Jeskai Control, 1, 2, 3 Infect, Skred, Dredge, and Grixis Control. Corey Burkhardt on Grixis Control, by the way, with 4 main deck Ancestral Vision, 4 main deck Cryptic Command, 14-0-1 in the Swiss.
Yeah.
This man exists on a higher plane than us mere mortals.
He managed to make it work. And the Jeskai deck, 4 main deck Cryptics, 2 main deck Sphinx's Rev as well.
Also, the Jeskai deck, 2 main deck Lightning Bolt. Alex Mitas, you know what? I can see, dude, you obviously know what you're doing. Torrential Gearhulk in the main 2. Torrential Gearhulk flashing back Cryptic Command has to be insane, right? Like, it's like same mana as Snapcaster Cryptic, but instead you make a 5/6 with Flash? Like, what is this?
I mean, it's interesting, too, especially when, you know, obviously a lot of people expected the format to be very fast.
Right.
And, you know, we saw the Skred Red deck, and it was, like, specifically metagamed against, you know, a fast meta. And 2 players decided to turn up with decks with 4 main deck Cryptics and did amazingly well with them.
Absolutely. So, do we want to Carter and Joe, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, he's on Dredge, so that'd be good to show.
So fast. We just got round 2 pairings here, so we'll get the matches here in a second.
Yeah, so Dan's gonna hop out. We'll probably talk a little bit more about this top 8. You know, obviously Infect sort of showing that, like, you can hate out Dredge, you can hate out Affinity, but can you also hate out Infect? And 3 decks in the top 8 says it's less than likely. Notably, Infect can sometimes go under a control deck like Jeskai or Grixis, but a lot of the time it's real bad. You're just Elves dying left and right, your Blighted Agents can't get through, and your Ink Moss, you know, get terminated out of the game or whatever. So it's not... Infect versus the control decks is a very very sort of swingy matchup where it depends on, how does your hand line up against their removal. Like, if they just got control deck has multiple paths and you have one Infector, like, you're probably going to lose. But there are Infect hands that they can, like, some draws from the control decks are too slow to beat or just can't beat sometimes. And, like, with 4 main deck Cryptic commands, if you're sitting on turn 3 with, 2 Cryptic commands in hand and you can't cast them against someone's, like, Blighted Agent draw that has, like, Become Immense and Double Mutagenic, then, like, obviously you're dead still. So, it's really interesting, the interplay of those 2 decks. So, are we getting those 2, Dan?
We are.
Awesome. All right, so we are going to watch Carter Petre play Joseph Natali. Joe referred to around the shop as Dredge Guy. He is indeed Dredge Guy. I have been told he's playing the actual Dredge list. He used to play Dredgevine a lot. Now it's just Dredgevine. So I believe, yeah, so Joe's going to be on the left here. Yeah, and both these players, and I don't know what Carter is on.
No, I didn't get a chance to ask him.
Yeah.
We'll find out soon enough, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so let's put current match. Get the overlay set up here as these 2 players shuffle up and get ready. As far as I'm aware, Joe is the only person in this shop who I think, or there was maybe one other person playing Dredge ever, but Joe is like the only one who consistently really shows up, I think, right?
Yeah. Keeps people's sideboards fair.
Right, it's always feel bad when you walk into Modern and you're like, oh, this is fine. There's no one who plays Dredge here. Then you play Joe and you're like, oh, I should have brought my Dredge hate.
Yeah. And Dredge, actually,
you're right. Carter is, I think, on Valakut. Ooh, this will be interesting. What is this matchup like? I feel like Dredge just goes really fast and maybe kills you, but also if you're Valakut, they don't really interact, right? Okay.
If you have a very explosive draw from Dredge, Valakut would just kill you outright. But the Valakut deck, I mean, if you play turn 4 Primeval, a lot of times that's good enough.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is, like, it seems like Valakut, Valakut being the other, like, one of the other loner decks in the top 8 this weekend, or previous weekend at Dallas, it seems very possible that you just Goldfish a little bit faster. Dredges, but at the same time, like, if they do the classic flip 2 prize amalgams turn 2 sort of thing and get them with a Blood Gas, you just lose.
Right, absolutely.
Just a little bit too fast.
This would really be contingent on just like how explosive, how like the enablers match up.
Absolutely. Yep. So here we're looking at Prized Amalgam. This is a card printed in Shadows over Innistrad. Turns out that 3/3s that come into play for free are really good.
Yeah, 3/3s that come into play that
both players going to mulligan, by the way.
Almost never go away.
Yeah, this card very difficult to deal with. You can always hold up a Bloodghast or something. Its interaction with Narcomoeba is very well known. Sort of the hallmark of the Dredge deck is dredge a Narcomoeba, so put the Narcomoeba from your library to your graveyard, but then move it to the battlefield. The Prized Amalgam, even if it's flipped in the same Dredge, will see that and then trigger and return on at the beginning of the end step. Funnily enough, Dredge is one of the only decks in Modern where you're really doing stuff at the end of your opponent's second main phase because you want your Prized Amalgams to have haste if you flip any off your Dredge.
Right. It's important to remember that the Prized Amalgam trigger is a beginning of end step trigger.
Right.
So if you go into end step, you have already passed the beginning of that end step.
Absolutely. Yep, so Joseph and Carter shuffling up, going to look at what they've got. Maybe it's more to their liking here. We will see. Obviously, Dredge looking to do the degenerate, like, Dredge a lot turn 1.
Well, yeah, and the mulligans certainly favor the Dredge decks, just because Valakut, you actually need
need the critical mass.
You're right.
Whereas Dredge are just like, oh, I have a Dredger and an Enabler. This is fine.
But the Valakut decks can also, run main deck Anger of the Gods. Your lightning bolts won't be doing much, but if you do find a main deck Anger, it's quite good.
Yeah. So turn 1 Faithless Looting here. Joe gonna shock off of all right.
Off the Stomping Ground.
Yeah, off the Stomping Ground. Discarding
Bloodghast
Stinkweed. That seems like sort of the ideal, honestly.
So no surprises here. Card gonna lead off
trigger
with Cinderglade.
Yep.
No trigger yet.
Well, okay, sorry. Replacement effect.
Yes, Dredge is a replacement effect.
Okay, so no huge hits there. Just, there is a life from the loam. There's 2 Cathartic Reunions and a Faithless Looting.
Right.
Obviously, Cathartic Reunion, an insane Magic card. Printed in Kaladesh, very powerful. Cathartic Reunion, and this is an Insolent Neonate here, printed also, I believe, in Shadows.
So immediately going to sack and discard the Stinkweed in
again.
Dredge again.
Flipping 2 Conflagrates and another Stinkweed Imp. Not a super good draw for the Dredge deck, honestly.
No, and so it'll be interesting to see if Joseph has another land in hand.
Right, to trigger the Bloodghast.
It's incredibly awkward.
He does. He has a Bloodstained Mire.
Okay.
Trigger.
So this should be able to get the Bloodghast back. No haste yet. We're ways off from that. But, a fairly active turn. And Joseph will next turn be able to play the Conflagrate, get rid of the rest of his hand, if he so chooses to.
Right. And yeah, gonna go to 17 here. Carter just suspending a Search for Tomorrow.
And it looks like Carter might be a little constrained on green sources. The Search for Tomorrow, ideal turn 1 play.
Yeah. And also Joe, as Cubs fan points out in the chat, playing his graveyard in a way that's very, very clear as to what exactly he's doing, which is much appreciated. So he does flip a Grave Troll there. So if Joe has another land, he can flash back a Faithless Looting this turn, and then I feel like he's just going to go crazy. But first off, he'll start by serving with the Bloodghast. Carter electing to save some damage, hoping Joe doesn't have a land, will bolt here. 2 mana, though. Life from the Loam. Okay, so
with this line, Joe is never going to be missing land drops for the rest of the game.
Right. Oh yeah. So now he has all the lands he could ever want.
And this sets up the engine for Conflagrate as well.
Right.
We're gonna, with 2 Conflagrates already in the graveyard, it's not unreasonable for Joseph to just hit Carter twice for 8.
Yeah. And so here Joe's gonna bring back 2 Bloodghasts. So now this next attack is for 4. And he'll be dredging 6 on his next draw step because of the Golgari Grave Troll that he flipped. That's a Colony Heart Expedition for Carter. And he doesn't have another land, does he?
Yeah, it looks like he missed his 3rd land drop. So
that's not great.
Right. But if we take a look at Carter's hand, he does, however, have an Anger.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right, that seems good.
He has an Anger and an Explore.
All right. So Carter just, I guess this comes off suspend. An Anger here, obviously, could be backbreaking depending on how much Joe commits to the board. Carter here reading Conflagrate. Conflagrate. We shall look it up. This card allows Dredge to just dump their whole hand into the yard, and they're okay with doing that because they're Dredge.
Yep.
So 6 flips here.
No,
3. A Gnaw to the Bone critically here for Joe. That is very, very strong.
The Gnaw to the Bone represents an immense amount of life.
Yeah. This is great for buying a turn against a deck like Valakut.
Right. With the Valakut deck, if Carter is aware of this and just ends up getting 4 Valakuts from a Primeval Titan, it won't matter. However, if Carter was hoping to go off on a Scapeshift route, the Scapeshift is no longer good enough.
Yeah, it's not. 2 life for each creature in your graveyard is going to be a lot once Joe starts flipping more creatures.
And let me correct that statement. Scapeship with 7 land is no longer good.
Yeah.
18 is no longer good.
Yeah.
36, though, is still probably good.
Yeah, there's not going to be...
But this does set you back a turn if you were planning on going with Scapeshift.
Yeah. Okay. I think they're discussing... No? So this Genericish called it correctly in the chat. This seems to be a sideboard card.
Right. A Gnaw to the Bone would be a very unusual main deck card.
Yeah.
But if you were super metagaming, not an unreasonable main deck inclusion, but that does look correct. It does look like that it is a sideboard card.
Yeah. So just a little mistake there by the players, but we're regular RL here.
At regular RL, the fix would be pretty simple here. We're just gonna have him put that card back into his sideboard and then fix his deck, and then possibly put an extra card from his library into the graveyard.
Yeah, okay. So here on the flip, we see a Narcomoeba and a Bloodghast, which is... so the Narcomoeba will get to enter the battlefield. There is some consideration to leaving the other Bloodghast back, trying to bait an anger from Carter, because Joe has to know that he has it, right?
Right. But at the same time, like, these aren't... did it look like just Joe drew a card?
Oh boy. Jeez, what?
We'll run out real quick.
Okay,
Double check
go. Never stop. Joe, gonna flip another loam. Troll. I mean, Joe just gets a Dredge 6 every turn for the rest of the game. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Generic name SH. Figuring it out. Okay, so sideboard cards should all be fixed now. Joe gonna get to swing for 4 here with the Bloodghasts. So, you know, taking Carter down... The thing is Carter will have an anger. Second sideboard card in the hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so just for people just tuning in, the Dredge player accidentally did not have... forgot to de-sideboard 2 cards, one of them in his hand and one of them that he flipped with a Dredge. So he drew a card to put a card back in his hand from replacing that, and he also...
put a card just from his graveyard into the library.
Okay. And this is a Faithless Looting. This is a lot of stuff. But the thing is that Carter, this like plays into what Carter wants because he has an anger. Also, there's no prized amalgams yet.
Yeah, and we've gotten to the point where we've seen enough cards that unless Joseph is incredibly unlucky, he might not have prized amalgams and stuff.
He owns prized amalgams.
Which I would be shocked. But like we've gone through...
He even has a Steam Vents.
There we go. Okay. So Joseph just being unlucky and not hitting the prize amalgams earlier.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, is like if he plays a land and triggers with the Bloodghast, then Carter just gets to go, wow, anger on your board of like 6 creatures.
Right. Now, yeah, a lot of triggers in this Dredge deck. We're going to make sure that Carter will be incentivized to make sure that Joseph doesn't forget his prize amalgam trigger here. Right.
Absolutely. I don't think this amalgam saw the stuff enter, right?
It did. It's because there were Narcomoebas from that Dredge.
Oh, you're right. I couldn't tell if weren't the Narcomoebas in the second Dredge?
Yes, the Narcomoebas were from the cast of the...
Faithless. Okay.
Faithless, yeah.
Okay. And so, here's the prize amalgam trigger at the end of Joseph's turn.
And it is worth mentioning that the way the stack works, the Narcomoebas will be triggers on the stack after the Faithless Looting resolves.
Sure.
So you have to you complete resolving the spell, so you're going to Dredge twice with Faithless Looting.
Oh.
And then you see all the triggers.
Oh, okay, that's what I missed. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. So it doesn't matter if you flip the Narcomoebas like before you flip the amalgams in like different dredges, because the amalgam is still like the amalgam doesn't check until both dredges have resolved.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
gotcha.
From a Faithless Loop.
Yeah, that's of course. Okay. So and 3 mana anger.
Yeah. So Carter's going to get the sweet 6-for-1.
Notably, there is still a Bloodghast in Joe's yard.
Yep.
As far as I'm aware.
So while this is, undeniably excellent, Carter did again miss his land drop for the turn. The third land he did get was off of the...
Jeez. Okay. Okay, that's a Scourge Devil there that Joe just flipped. This is played by Brian Brunduin in place of the Rally the Peasants that we've seen before. Just for it unearths for the same amount of mana, but it also is a body, theoretically, so you can have that if you want. So yeah, Joe, I feel like maybe just Flashback Conflagrate, get him.
So Joe is still able to present a reasonable amount of pressure. He's going to get this prize amalgam back. If he casts Life from the Loam, he can also get the Bloodghast back. And that is just a 2-turn clock right there.
He's going to flashback a Faithless Looting.
Yeah, flashing back a Faithless Looting also fine, especially when you know that there's 2 more prize amalgams.
Yeah. None of them there, though.
Right. But it's fine. We've got another.
He's playing like 3 Conflagrate at least, or Conflagrate.
So one thing that Dredge players should be careful about is keeping track of how many cards are in your library.
Right, of course.
And Joseph choosing to draw a second card.
Oh yeah, because this way he can discard Amalgam and the Grave Troll that he dredged.
Right. Faithless Looting, an excellent way of getting cards out of your hand as well.
And that's going to be a Copperline Gorge coming down. Triggering Bloodghast, triggering Amalgam off to the side there. So that is... Carter needs to draw another Anger immediately.
Right, so this is 8 power on board at the end step. Yeah. So Carter will be dead in 2 turns, and based off of just his mana situation, it's unlikely that he's going to be able to, kill Joseph in time. However, that's not necessarily the case, because we know that Carter has a fetch land in hand. So if he plays Explorer and then just goes double fetch land, and that turns on Colony Heart, and then you're well in Scapeshift territory.
Yeah. So Colony Heart gonna turn on fetch land trigger again.
Okay. So
here we go.
So this is going to be 7 lands. So if Carter has a Scapeshift in hand, Joseph is dead next turn.
Right. So yeah, we'll see if Joseph has a way. So if he unearths the Scourge Devil, how much damage is he doing?
So that would be +5. And this is currently 11 power on board.
So it's technically lethal, but I think there's a bolt in Carter's hand that can sort of mop that up.
Right. Oh, I didn't see this.
Okay, so there's just the swing.
Yep. So Joseph choosing not to unearth.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The unearth would also add the 3 power from the Scourge Devil.
Yeah.
So this would have been 20.
Okay. The thing is Joseph does have a Conflagrate, right? So like, there's a bolt. It's going to target one of the Amalgams. This should be a fair bit of damage here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Carter going to 8.
Yep. Carter going to 8, and Joseph not having 8 cards in hand can't just kill Carter on the spot.
He has a lot of cards though. Flashback Conflagrate.
But does he have 8?
I think he might have drawn 8th card for turn because he had a lot of cards in hand for loam and stuff.
He might have been able to do the full 8, and a little unfortunate for Carter. But Carter's draw was fairly slow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even with the Anger of the Gods, the main deck Anger that bought him a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, without that Anger, he obviously dies very quickly. Do you think you go out and fix the blue playmat? Yeah. All right. So Dan is on a quick mission to fix the playmat that Joseph's playing on a little bit. As we go to game 2 here, it is very challenging for any modern deck, really, other than maybe even Scred, to beat Dredge when it's really firing on all cylinders. Like, that was a relatively anemic draw from Dredge, and still, obviously, like, lots of free power on the board, that sort of thing. And there's apparently been discussion about potentially cutting, or potentially banning cards from Dredge because people feel like it's just way too good. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the next ban list update, because there is, I would say, Dan, a fair amount of public pressure to ban Dredge. People are sort of like, oh wait, what is this deck?
I mean, part of the problem, it's naturally very powerful, but it's also very unpleasant to play against.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it depends on what Wizards' philosophy is. After their removal of Modern from the Pro Tour, they've been fairly lax about, interfering with the format.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Short of the Eye of Ugin ban, there just hasn't been much action since then.
Right, Ancestral got unbanned, Thopter's Sword was, unbanned, it was freed as well. Ultimately,
ended up not changing the meta
really changing the meta. But the new Dredge cards that were printed, Prized Amalgam and Insolent Neonate, especially in Eldritch Moon.
Adding Cathartic Reunion a little later.
Oh yeah, Cathartic Reunion is apparent. Like, a turn 2 Cathartic Reunion can just be game over for some.
I think the real power comes from the printing of Prized Amalgam, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Just like before, the bodies just weren't good enough. You getting back Narcomoebas, Bloodghast.
But they're not 3 power.
They're not 3 power, and sometimes that forces you to go to like a Vengevine deck, in which case you're running stuff like Diregraph Ghouls and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not exciting.
Yeah, not a Diregraph Ghoul, Gravecrawler.
Gravecrawler, excuse me. Yeah, Gravecrawler. So all of a sudden your deck is just kind of like clunky value-ish stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Vengevine can do work. I've been Vengevined many a time by Joseph in Modern, but the Dredge deck as it currently is I mean, probably the most powerful it's ever been in Modern.
Right, and you can just attack from so many angles. You're still a Loam deck, so you can go that route.
Loam Conflagrate, good
right,
combo.
With Conflagrate, you can just deal an immense amount of damage.
Right, and with Loam, like, you Loam up to 6 or 7 cards in hand, and then you Conflagrate them, and you have like 4 Conflagrate in your main deck, and then 3 Conflagrate, and you just kill them with burn.
Right, and let's not forget, Conflagrate isn't fireable. You can like point that in. You can divide that how you choose.
Conflagrate is really, really good when you don't care about dumping your whole hand to kill your opponent's board.
In some cases, it's even a benefit, right? You can dump like Prize Amalgams and Bloodghast.
Yeah, so both players looking at their hands here.
Looks like Carter has at least a Summoner's Pact, a Valakut, a Search for Tomorrow.
Okay, so he's got some ramp. He's got some cards. He's got the ability to at least find Primeval Titan.
Unfortunately, that may be all the hand is. It might be 5 lands, Search for Tomorrow, and Summoner's Pact.
Right, and that is very scary against a Dredge deck.
Oh, no, I take that back. It's 4 land, Search for Tomorrow, Scape Shift, and a Summoner's Pact.
Oh, he's going to mull here. It's just not fast enough. I feel like if he had another... ramp spell like a Soccer Tribe Elder, then that hand would be amazing.
With the Soccer Tribe Elder, I'm much more happy about keeping it. It's just that hand doesn't do anything until maybe turn 5?
Turn 5, turn 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a thing, right? Like, Dredge just sometimes is going to kill you by then.
Right. And, even your turn 5 play of, Summoner's Pact for a Primeval Titan, that doesn't give you lethal that turn either. This is like, set up the combo that turn, and then next turn
you kill him. Yeah, and
try to kill him.
Dredge goes so wide, too. That can be very challenging to... But again, mulliganing in a combo deck, your critical mass goes down.
Right. And it looks like Carter did keep it in the Lightning Bolt.
Which, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I guess it saves you... It's like, basically, it's Healing Salve because it'll save you 3 damage, but...
But I don't know if... well, if we can mulligan for Grafdigger's Cage, that's where we want to be.
Jeez. So, Joe now has to find the Abrupt Decay, or whatever it is. Okay, so the BBD list from this weekend, playing Nature's Claim. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Read that Grafdigger's Cage. It's not great.
It does pretty much everything you would want it to do against Dredge.
Yep. We'll take Carter down to 19 here as he's fetching for a forest. But yeah, so Grafdigger's Cage. Probably the premier colorless graveyard hate piece in Modern, and Legacy and Vintage.
Yeah,
Joe gonna play a land, and here's the beats.
Every part of this is excellent, right? The first part shuts down Dredge, but also shuts down Collected Company, Quarter Calling, and the second part, that shuts down Snapcasters. That shuts down any flashback.
It also shuts down. Importantly, it's one of the reasons why Ancient Grudge just isn't really good in the Dredge deck to get out of the cage, because you can't flash it back if you with cage you can still Dredge, but okay. So this is a turn 2 Cathartic here. What's he gonna discard? Discard Amalgam.
Okay.
Discard Bloodghast. That's not optimal.
Right, but again, you're not going down on cards, right? This is just simply
cycling through.
Cycle 3 cards.
The question is, can Carter kill Joe before he finds a Nature's Claim? Because that's what he's drawing to right now, I think.
Okay, so Carter plays a Sakura Tribe Elder, but again, no third land.
Untap, yeah, no third land is that's a problem. But I guess you have a cage, but like the cage isn't forever.
Carter also has an Explore in hand, so he does. You
don't want to do that without getting value.
Yeah, he does have a Cycle.
Beats. Insolent Neonate with Menace. How can you block?
20 turn clock.
Let's go. Another Cathartic Reunion, though.
Okay. So Joseph digging very, very hard
to find Nature's Claim.
Yep. And I mean, this is a very effective way of digging, right? You're digging 3 cards deep.
And a Faithless Looting. Whoa, man. So Joe has seen, what, like 8 more cards in his deck by now?
Yep.
Very, very strong. Obviously, Faithless Looting can't be flashed back here, but... so just really, like... Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like, Joe is gonna find a Nature's Claim, play a land, and then get back a Bloodghast and, like, 2 Prized Amalgams or something. And it's gonna be an insane amount of power, and Carter needs to find a way to kill him.
Yeah, one issue with this line of play, though, is that, like, we can see in Joseph's hand, he ended up drawing, like, a Narc Amoeba.
That's not great.
And once you draw it, there's no way to get value off of that.
Right, of course. 2 mana here. Carter did draw Valakut, so he's gonna get to explore and... play hopefully multiple lands.
And so he found a Valakut
and a Wooded Foothills.
And a Wooded Foothills. So
which
this
will turn on the Calling Heart.
Yep.
Crack. 16. So yeah, this game I think would probably be very over if the cage weren't in existence.
Oh, absolutely. This one, look at how many creatures Joseph would have on the battlefield if Carter could play.
At least 3.
Yeah. So Carter has 2 additional land drops this turn.
That's pretty nutty.
Yeah.
Valakut, pass.
Choosing not to trigger the Colony Heart to get 4 counters.
Yeah, buddy.
There's always something you can do.
That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. There's a cage. Yep. Okay, so Joe, realizing he's unable to flash back the Faithless Looting with the cage, you're gonna serve here, and this is where, you know, sometimes Dredge just doesn't have it, and you beat them with cage because they just can't kill it. And there comes 2 mountains. So that's gonna be. Are those bolts yet? No.
Nope. We only have 4 mountains in play currently.
Okay. So still needing to find. Does Carter have a way to get to Primeval Titan here?
He does have double grain, so...
I mean, I'm just, like, does he have does he have a Titan or a Pact is the question. Oh, okay, he's got something. It's 6 mana. It's probably Primeval Titan. And tapping lands, and, alright, leave that Cinderglade up. Slam, slam, slam. Primeval Titan gonna hit the table. Carter gonna search for 2 lands, so there's 4 mountains in play right now.
I believe there are 4, yeah.
Yeah, and Joe is just going to scoop to that. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you don't find the Nature's Claim in, like, the top, you know, Joe had a lot of looks at the top of the deck. It's just, like, in the Primeval Titan comes down, you're dead in a turn. So.
Right, and this was an excellent mulligan decision from Carter.
Yeah.
Let's remember, like, the 7 he could have kept, you know, was not an unplayable 7, right? It just wasn't good. And compare that to the 6 that he ended up drawing, when you have such powerful hate in Anger of the Gods, Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, Grafdigger's Cage especially. Good lord.
It really incentivizes you to mulligan those marginal 7s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, taking a risk going to 6, obviously, but getting very well rewarded for it with the cage coming down. It's just so challenging for Dredge to beat that card. Once it hits the battlefield. So we will move now to game 3. Both players doing a little bit more sideboarding here. Yeah, jeez. So if we're looking at Brian Brondoon's list, you're bringing in the Ancient Grudge, you're bringing in the Gnaw to the Bone, maybe. You're certainly bringing in the Nature's Claims. And then I don't think there's anything else relevant in this sideboard.
I think, my board would just be the Ancient Grudge and 4 Nature's Claim.
Yeah, Gnaw to the Bone probably not good enough because the sustained damage. Against, like, the old Scapeshift decks that just tried to kill you.
But even then, all you have to do is... Gnaw to the Bone would just...
lands,
it would just delay you 1 turn. You just go to 8 lands. Or if you really wanted to get... you go to 9 lands, and all of a sudden 9 lands represents an additional 18.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, and then looking at the Titan Shift list from this weekend, I don't think that this deck is the one that Carter's playing, because the one that did well in Dallas has 4 main deck Chalice of the Void and 4 Simian Spirit Guide, so that you can get mad blowouts by playing turn 1 Chalice.
Right.
Seems good.
Always a meta call if you have 4 Chalice in the main in Modern.
I mean, hey man, this dude top 8 of the GP, right? He obviously...
That's true. But yeah, from Carter's sideboard, cards I like, he obviously has some number of Angers, probably additional copy or 2 in the sideboard. The Grafdigger's Cage. has at least one copy, probably two.
Yeah, absolutely.
And looking at Carter's hand, it looks he has lands and spells, but I'm not seeing a cage or anything absurd.
Yeah, Joe gonna mulligan here, not finding what he wanted.
Okay. Looks like Carter has an acceptable 7.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what Dredge can do here if it goes fast enough to out aggro everything or not. That is the question.
Yeah, again, Dredge, the mulligans really don't matter too much.
Yeah,
you only need an enabler or 2, and then you're off to the races.
Right. Once you start flipping cards, you just can't be stopped.
The worst really are the one-landers.
Right.
Because
you can't trigger your blood guests.
A lot of times, if you're forced into having to actually draw cards, it doesn't feel great.
It goes real slow.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna see here. Yeah. Our Carter keeping means he has graveyard hate. It's very possible. It also could just be he has a really, really fast draw.
Yeah.
Or like
an aggressive draw, I would definitely certainly keep as well.
Yeah.
You can race the Dredge deck.
Our Bear, if you're looking to, I guess this is like, from a little while ago in the chat, but if you are looking to get into Modern, like I would recommend trying to borrow decks before settling on one that you'd like to buy. And I feel like Dredge is probably not a great place to start just because it's on everyone's radar in a big way.
Yeah. Dredge does have the benefit of being a fairly cheap deck.
That's true.
But unfortunately, there's not very many crossovers.
Right.
Your mana base is fairly limited
Absolutely.
in crossovers. Not a whole lot of decks run like Copperline Gorges and stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Joe here, scried to the top, played a turn 1 Wooded Foothills. Carter following with a Cinderglade on his turn and a pass back. Joe now going to crack the fetch. He might have scried to the top and wanted to keep it, so not cracking there is obviously what you want to be doing.
There's also a possibility that Joseph forgot about it.
Yeah, that's very possible as well.
Yeah. I've certainly done that before. You forget to crack your fetches before Seven Visions. You scry to the top and then...
Disaster.
And then disaster.
All right, so going to get a basic mountain here. Preserving the life total a little bit. I believe he's got a Faithless Looting that he's going to fire off. He has also a Cathartic Reunion in hand, but I don't know if he has a second land right now. So Faithless Looting, draw 2, discard 2.
Yeah, Faithless is one of the prime ways of getting cards into their graveyard. This is also a way to dig for additional land drops.
Right. Very much so. And the thing is, like, you're discarding cards with no downside to discard. You're discarding cards that are better in the graveyard than they are in your hand.
Right. It is important to note that So
he's going to discard a Stomping Ground and a Bloodstained Mire, so he's got to have a load of lands in that hand.
Yes.
And he's got another one? Oh, yeah, buddy. Go for it.
Okay, so
where are the enablers, though? Where are the dredgers? Discard Scourge Devil.
Okay, that's not really one.
What's your other discard here?
We still haven't found a card that has the keyword Dredge on it. And
that's a Nature's Claim?
Yeah, we still have not found the Dredger. So
I guess he's got a Cathartic in hand, but this does not look promising. I mean, Carter's hand looks really, really slow, though. Unless he's got spells that I'm not seeing. If he has an Explore here, it's probably fine. Carter going to go to 19. Shuffle, and yeah, okay. So there is an Explorer. That's fine. He's got some ramp. Get accelerated a little.
And it looks like he does also have an Anger in hand.
Yeah, that's pretty good. He can set up for, this, whenever Joe decides that Dredge is going to happen.
And
draw a card, not an enabler. He's got a Cathartic Reunion, so he can dig. Then he can flashback Faithless Lootings to start dredging, I guess. But this is really
this is an
really
incredibly slow draw. It's also a little unlucky that with double Faithless Looting, putting 4 cards in the graveyard,
didn't find a dredger. Yeah, we will.
And
we'll see what Joe does.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out too. Like, Faithless Looting puts you down a card.
Yeah.
Right. Cathartic just cycles.
And a pass back.
Interesting.
Farseek here from Carter. Gonna go find something. Joe, I really don't like the discarding the Stomping Ground if he didn't have a third land. Like, I don't know what else is in his hand.
I'm a little curious what's in Joe's hand, because he also discarded a Nature's Claim.
Right.
So
I mean, maybe just like, oh, maybe Carter doesn't have turn 1 cage, therefore he doesn't have it at all?
So I mean, what else is in Joseph's hand? Is it more Nature's Claims?
I have no idea, dog. But it's not lands because he didn't play one.
Right. They're not lands. They're not, cards like Prized Amalgam or Bloodghast.
Because he would have discarded
those would have been discarded.
I'm very confused as well, but we will find out very shortly. Sakura Tribe Elder here from Carter. Literally just ramping up. Yeah. He has another Nature's Claim in hand. All right, thank you, D-Slap.
Almost certainly has another Nature's Claim in hand just based on
the discard decision.
Discarding one.
Yeah. All right. Draw step.
Okay, so Joseph could really use a Cathartic Reunion just to
cycle. And yeah, this is, I think, the reunion. Yeah.
Okay.
So discarding Narcomoeba and discarding. I don't know about discarding the other Cathartic here.
Depends on what else is in hand.
Yeah, that's true. We'll find out.
It is also worth pointing out that if Joseph even so much as fetches here, he's dead.
Oh, really?
Carter has Scapeshift in hand.
Oh, okay.
Scapeshift and a 7th land.
Of course, yeah. So Carter gonna crack this end of turn. So, Joe again missing on the lands from the Cathartic too. So this is not ideal.
Right. So if Carter has an Explorer or any way of getting an additional land drop, because he does have at least one more land in hand.
Yeah. Oh, he just drew an Explorer actually.
Right. Joseph is dead.
Right. Cinderglade.
Oh,
Valakut.
Oh, there's our okay. So there's a Valakut trigger. So this just means that Joseph is dead, because with the Valakut trigger just naturally drawn, Joseph goes to 16, and then Carter can't 18 him from.
Yeah, and the Dredge deck does not finding Dredge cards. A lot of cycling in that early hand, but not a lot of action.
Just not a lot of action, and unfortunately, this is so it looks like a collective brutality, but
no black source.
No black sources. And that, unfortunately, is one of the weaknesses of the Dredge deck. Like, you can end up with a hand clunky like that.
Yeah, for sure. Where it's like, oh, I'll probably draw into stuff, but then you don't draw into stuff, and then you lose.
Yeah, you're playing a very very like color-intensive deck.
Yeah.
Because your spells cost are all sorts of different colors.
Right, double black for Bloodghast, blue-black for Prized Amalgam, that sort of thing.
And, there are a fair number of non-interactive cards, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is unlikely, but, sometimes you do unfortunately end up with hands like this.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll take a look, see if we can find another match here with 13 minutes left in the round. If not, we'll throw it back to the booth and we can chat a little bit.
Sounds good. Yeah, so Dan out there looking for another match. Looking at the sideboards, 2 Grafdigger's Cage and an additional Anger from Carter. Joe with the Nature's Claims and the Collective Brutality. So yeah, looking exactly like the BBD list from the GP. Some unfortunate draws there for Joe, just not finding Prized Amalgams in one of the games, and then the second game just not having a much more having a very difficult time finding any cards that said Dredge on them. So we will see. Hopefully Dan has another match for us. If not, though, we'll chat and we'll maybe take a break, but we'll probably just talk about the state of the format. See, there's apparently a couple articles today on SCG talking about how do we fix Modern. Everyone wants to fix Modern, by the way. Just like everyone's got their idea of what bannings and unbannings can make the format in a place where people really want to play it again. We'll have to see though what Wizards chooses to do. There are a lot of people calling for Splinter Twin unbans. I would love it, but I don't think it's going to happen. And honestly, some people saying Eldrazi needs to be further banned out because they think that Eldrazi Temple's too strong. Everyone has their own ideas. I'm not sure what Wizards is going to do. It doesn't seem like they haven't really made a decision yet about how that's going to go. And yeah, our Bear, January will be the ban list update with the release of... Is it Aether Revolt? Yeah, Aether Revolt. Yeah, so yeah, the ban list will be updated sometime towards mid to end January. Okay, so Dan is waving to me that we don't have another match. Dan, I've just been, chatting with chat about possibilities for, modern bannings and unbannings coming up in this, coming up in the next cycle. So Aether Revolt's going to come out in January. Presumably, Wizards will look at the ban list.
Yeah, the two prime targets I think might get hit. Ancient Sterns, in the first one, and then possibly a element of the Dredge deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which one they would hit. It's embarrassing to like ban something to unban something, then ban it again. So it might not be Grave Troll, but
it might be Prized Amalgam, right?
It might be Prized Amalgam because you have a lot of enablers. They, banning out Golgari Grave Trove might not be enough, or But it should be interesting. There's also a lot of talk about Bloodbraid Elf potentially getting unbanned. I
have my 2 playsets just in case.
I don't think that would actually be that unfair even.
I feel like Bloodbraid Elf is pretty reasonable. It's a 4-drop, right? Who does 4-drops anymore?
Right. I mean, obviously, it is a quite good card. I don't think it's like broken.
Yeah.
Especially given how much more powerful the format is now compared to the original version.
Yeah.
And also,
there's also no Deathrite Shaman.
There's also no Deathrite, so you're not gonna. In the decks that would want to play Bloodbraid Elf, you're not gonna be playing Birds of Paradise as well.
Turns out that cascading into a Birds of Paradise off your Bloodbraid Elf doesn't feel great, guys.
Right.
Just so you know.
So it would almost exclusively.
Stay informed.
It would almost exclusively be in Jund decks, and yes, Bloodbraid Elf into like a Liliana, it's quite good, but also not like. Let's look at the format.
I mean, it's not like. That is not doing anything against Infect because Infect has already killed you. Right. Or like Dredge has like 8 creatures on board. Like, cool Liliana, dude. What are you gonna make me do? Discard a Grave Troll? Like, woo.
Right. The format is already quite powerful, and I don't think that would break Jund. Or make Jund broken.
I mean, it's a 4. It's like, I mean, most Jundless are only playing 1 or 2 4-drops. I don't think it would. There's no way that there's a 4 Bloodbraid Elf deck out there that's just going to dominate all the mid-range matchups, right? Like, mid-range matchups hardly exist anymore.
And there are concessions as well. If you go up in Bloodbraids, all of a sudden Dark Confidant becomes a lot less appealing, right?
Yeah. Don't do that, kids.
Don't
flip your Bloodbraids to Dark Confidant.
Yeah, it's a real consideration that a lot of people forget in deck design. It's just like. When you start adding more and more and your CMC starts just creeping up, all of a sudden Confidants can do a lot more damage.
Only you can prevent greatness at any cost, guys. Just, that seems bad.
But it should be interesting. There are certainly some prime targets for unbanning. I mean, a lot of the ban list feels kind of dated, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff on there, like, here, I'll pull the ban list up right now, but, there's stuff on there that obviously has to stay there forever, like the artifact lands.
But there's even an argument that the artifact lands aren't broken, right? You would have very different affinity looking.
That's fair.
The affinity deck would look very different, but I mean, would you even run them?
Well,
right.
I guess the question is like because affinity usually plays like 16 lands,
right?
So you're either replacing Glimmer Void, which is a rainbow land. You're replacing Blink Moth or Ink Moth, which are 2 very powerful elements of Affinity strategy, or replacing Darksteel Citadel, which is indestructible. So, like, I could see maybe replacing the Citadels, right? But, like...
Sure, you would... But...
Right,
it's not an insane upgrade, right?
This isn't, obviously the standard Affinity deck was, like, insane.
Sure.
So other stuff on here, obviously, like...
Yeah.
Okay, Sensei's Divining Top will always stay banned, because nobody... Okay, like... People complain about Top and Legacy so much, and nobody plays Legacy, so almost nobody complains about Top when you multiply it out. But a lot of people play Modern, and a lot of people would complain about Top, which would be horrible.
So, I mean, we can just go top down, right? So we've got Ancient End, one of the artifact lands. It's kind of like, if they're unbanned, they're all unbanned. I personally think like it would be fine.
I mean, I think that like if you look at the affinity list, they're going to replace Darksteel Citadel. Congratulations.
I mean, you might also build a different deck.
You might build like a Tezzeret deck.
No, you might play decks that actually run cards with the keyword affinity.
Dan, those cards don't exist.
Right. So
we're looking for Metalcraft only around here.
It could be interesting. Without testing, it's difficult to tell.
Yeah.
Second card, Birthing Pod will never be unbanned.
Birthing Pod will stay banned. Wizards was like, oh, wow, we can't print good ETBs if we leave Birthing Pod in the format. Well,
exactly.
Goodbye. Blazing Shoal, always going to be banned.
Blazing Shoal almost certainly.
Turn 2 kills with Exile My Progenitus, kill you with Glistener Elf. Not fun anymore. Don't do that. Only you can prevent Blazing Shoal death. Jesus.
Right.
Blazing what a
Shoal, card. Probably not going to be unbanned.
What an absolute monster of a card.
Bloodbraid Elf, we've discussed that a little bit. Probably the prime target for an unban. Chrome Mox.
Definitely not getting unbanned.
Right. The mana
Fast mana for every deck is not what we want.
The mana acceleration is quite scary.
That's pretty good.
Dark
Depths. Not getting unbanned.
Cloud Post?
Oh, Cloud Post? Not getting unbanned.
Yeah, Cloud Post probably not going to be unbanned.
For those of you who don't know, Cloud Post lets you make a gazillion mana, and when I say gazillion, I do mean actual gazillion.
Well, so the 12 post deck in Legacy, you run 12 Locust lands.
Right.
Well, you
play Vesuva.
Yeah, you play Vesuva to get that.
You play Vesuva and some Cloud Posts and some Glimmer Posts, and
so it functions similarly to Tron.
Except it's way better.
Yeah, except you don't need to like find specific pieces.
You're just like, oh, I have 2 Cloud Posts and they tap for
2 each.
Yeah, and they tap for 2 each, and then I play a Glimmer Post now. They tap for 3 each. Like, and then I play a Vesuva, and it's like, woo.
Yeah, the amount of mana you can make is a little silly.
Yeah. Okay. Up next, we're looking at Dark Depths. Also not getting unbanned.
There's a small chance. It seems unlikely. This
card is really good.
This card is quite good, and was a staple of
Thopter Depths.
Or past decks where you ran Vampire Hexmage to enable it. Now you have Thespian Stage that can Legend Rule one out.
You wanna live the dream?
Yeah.
Dark Depths, Urborg, Hexmage, 2020. Yeah. Let's go. There is like a black green Turbo Depths deck that did well in Legacy this recent Eternal weekend.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. It is certainly unlikely to get banned. But
it's I think on Modern just really lacks a lot of good land interaction. Obviously, there's no Wasteland, so like
it's quite
there's
powerful.
Not a good way to fight the Dark Depths combo, which is really good.
Right. Going down the list, we've got Deathrite Chime.
Also not getting unbanned.
Absolutely not getting unbanned. Dig Through Time will not ever be unbanned.
Dig Through Time, when your card's been banned in Legacy and Restricted and Vintage, it's not getting unbanned. Right. This card is so good,
it was
by
very
the way.
Clearly
Holy moly. This card is so good. This card was, like, nuts in Standard. Like, this card is insane in Modern.
It was pretty good in Standard, but...
Can you imagine, like, Splinter Twin with Digs in it? Because I wasn't around back then, but that seems good.
That was just a deck that, you had a lot of value.
EOT Dig from my thing. Yeah. It's fine.
But continuing down the list, Dredge Return... Also, almost certainly not going to be unbanned.
If people don't like Dread, there's no way that Dread Return is coming off the ban list.
This is actually what makes, Legacy Dredge a deck.
Right, because you just reanimate stupid busted stuff.
Right. This is actually the power card in Dredge. Yeah. Well, this is one of the power cards.
This is a really big power card, though. Like, holy moly.
Right.
Okay.
Continuing, Ivogan.
Ivogan just got banned. No way it's coming off.
Yeah. Glimpse in Nature also
not coming off.
Also not going to be unbanned.
Because if they unban Glimpse, all Legacy Elves is missing is Cradle, right?
Pretty much, and I mean that is a key.
It is a big deal, but
I think that the risk in this is too high.
Absolutely. I mean, Elves would just be really good.
I mean, and you do have a 2-mana version of this card in
Beck
Modern.
and Call.
Yeah, you can just play Beck.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Beck / Call, not format breaking enough.
Right. There's a big difference from this costing 1 and this costing 2.
And by big, you mean enormous.
Right. And not just, 2. It also requires blue.
Yeah, so, like, forcing you into blue in the Elves deck, somewhat suboptimal. Okay, next up, Great Furnace, another one of the artifact lands. If one comes off, they all come off. There's no reason for that not to happen.
Yeah. Green Sun Zenith, unlikely.
Never getting unbanned.
Just a better Court of Calling.
Better, I mean, it's not an instant, but it goes back into your library, and it's way cheaper.
Yeah, this also creates a lot of mana acceleration. You can turn 1 Green Sun and get Dryad Arbor.
Right, and that's just like free. It's just ramp.
Going down the list, Hypergenesis, certainly not getting rid of that. This is probably the most powerful spell to cast into.
Yep, this card's pretty good.
Jace the Mind Sculptor, there's talk that it potentially could be. This is, to me personally, it seems unlikely.
Yeah, I just think that Jace is like basically it would put you on. You're on the Jace plan if you're not on the kill them before they Jace you plan.
Right. It may devolve standard modern into a format that just a little too unfun.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that Bloodbraid and Jace are like two sort of like mid-rangey possible answers to the format, but I think the risk of Jace is is way higher than Bloodbraid.
Well, one of the issues with Jace also is well, there are two issues. Mm-hmm. One, it adds a brainstorm effect into the format where there currently is none.
Right. And two,
that's a big change to the format. Mm-hmm. And two, Fate Seal is a very unfun mechanic. When you probably one of the reasons why this card is so strong is you can just Fate Seal someone out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at your top card. Is it a land? No. Cool. Bottom. Now you're drawing land. Is it a land? Yes. Leave it top. Fine.
Right. Exactly. But, there has been some talk. I would be quite surprised if we saw a Mind Sculptor unbanned.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, Mental Misstep.
Mental Misstep will never be unbanned. Especially for people who played with this card in Standard. It's just not a fun card.
Stupid Magic card.
Right. For people who play with this in Standard, it's just not a fun card.
Oh, this card is so fun. This card is so good.
Depending on how popular it becomes, a lot of times people are required to just run 4. Just off color, just run 4.
I mean,
and it's just not fun.
How can you win otherwise? Right? Like, jeez.
Right.
Phyrexian mana guys, really good sometimes.
Yeah. Going down the list, Ponder and Preordain. Kind of two similar cards. They might just be they were banned because they were just a little bit too powerful for the format. And
no. What?
And I would argue that is still the case.
Okay, this is Ponder.
Yeah.
Ponder's a really good cantrip, guys. Definitely played in all the decks that it's in.
These are all just definitely, just better than Serum Visions.
Ponder, I mean, so I've seen some discussion saying ban Serum Visions, unban Ponder.
I mean, it seems weird to ban a strictly worse card.
Right. I mean, basically, people don't want decks having like this critical massive cantrip effects. Like, any one of these cards that gets unbanned will automatically replace Sleight of Hand in all the lists that want 8 cantrips. So like Adnos, for example. Adnos with Ponder and Preordain seems pretty scary.
Or just any, blue-based deck. Right.
Blue-red Storm. Woo, bring back the Electromancers. All right, next up, Punishing Fire.
Potentially unbannable. Also, suffers from problem of being very unfun. This combos with Grove of the Burn Willows, which gives you kind of like an infinite burn. Well,
over time. It takes 20 turns to kill someone from 20 because you do 1 damage a cycle.
Right. But you can also, just shoot down creatures repeatedly.
Right.
It's just not a fun card to play against.
Absolutely.
And with that philosophy, I can see that Wizards just doesn't want to touch this.
This card is way too... It's so inevitable.
Right. Next card, Rite of Flame. Probably won't be unbanned. This was one of the cards I got banned in the Storm
in the Storm Massacre. Yeah.
This just added too much mana.
Yeah. I mean, when you start making, so like obviously the gold standard for Storm rituals in Legacy is Dark Ritual, right? Mm-hmm. Like pay 1, make 3. When Rite of Flame starts making 4,
right,
or 5,
and at that point, we're at the point where it's just a little bit too good.
Yeah.
This was banned fairly recently, and the justification for banning it hasn't changed at all.
Storm is a busted deck when there's too many good rituals, apparently.
Next, Seed of the Synod, another artifact land.
Second Sunrise up next.
Second Sunrise was banned to ban out eggs from the format, and the justification still hasn't changed.
And that is that eggs takes way too freaking long to finish the game.
Right.
There are still eggs decks that exist. I'm not hating on eggs players, but like, yo.
But this was clearly one of the enablers for it.
Yeah, this card's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Next we have Seething Stone. Same problem with Rite of Flame. Just this adds +2 as opposed to the current ramp that only adds +1.
I very much like being able to go get Garden Hellkites though and just zap people with Dragonstorm. The other thing is like Seething Song. Like you can chain, if you chain like Paretic you chain one of like the 2 mana cost 3 rituals into the Seething Song, like yeah, it takes 2 cards, but like it gets you from 2 to 5.
Right, and that's the important part is this adds +2 mana.
Right.
Whereas all the current rituals add
everything else adds +1. Absolutely. Right. One of the reasons why Goblin Electromancer is so good is that all your rituals start adding 2.
Top.
So we talked about that briefly, but it just takes too long.
Right.
It's super unfun when people don't know how to use top. I've played Legacy like very sparingly. I don't know how to use top. So whenever I'm playing a deck with top, it's a disaster.
Right. Just mechanically, top makes the format unfun. There's also the problem that counterbalance is illegal in Modern.
Oh, that would be so good.
So you could have a strange version of Miracles in Modern. With
I mean, without a brainstorm effect, like obviously it gets like not as good, but it is. This card is just.
This is something I don't see Wizards ever approaching. Next card, Skull Clamp. Obviously, will never be unbanned. This
card, guys. Oh man, remember? So I've read the Wizards' justification for this. They were like, "This card's a little bit too strong at +1/+1. We're gonna give it +1/-1." And then they just printed it. It's like, this card is way better than we thought it was. Because you just like, okay, turn 1, Skull Clamp. Turn 2, Memnite, equip, draw.
Yeah, it's quite good. After that, Splinter Twin. No, I would be.
Everyone wants this. Like, okay, there are so many people on the internet who want this card unbanned. I personally think it's not going to happen. As much as I want it to happen, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It just, from a Wizards perspective, the philosophy for the reason that they banned Splinter Twin has not changed. So if you use that justification to ban it,
how can you justify unbanning? I mean,
what are you going to do to justify unbanning?
There was a lot of sort of like speculation that it was banned because they justified it like this, but it was really because they wanted to shake up the Pro Tour. Yeah, there's probably some merit to those claims, but like ultimately, this card is not going to get unbanned in January.
Yeah.
I could see in a year from coming out this January, it will be the 1 year anniversary of the Splinter Twin ban. I could see a year, so after 2 years of Splinter Twin ban, I could see it coming back then. But I don't see it coming back a year after it was banned. That seems awful. But if it does come back, I am jamming main deck Blood Moon, and we're playing Twin again. Like, oh yes.
Yeah, and this was one of the bans where it wasn't like overtly too powerful, but it did encourage a format that Wizards didn't like, and ultimately
And then it got banned.
They're the curators of the format.
Yeah. Down with Splinter Twin. All right, next up on the list, Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, so this is actually probably like the second most talked card about being unbanned. There was a lot of hype when Stoneforge Mystic was the 2016 GP promo.
Right, because like, why is this in all the GPs, but it's not legal in anything but Legacy?
Right.
And Wizards just wants us to play like Esper Deathblade.
And like personally, I think this is a very unlikely ban. Just the power of the tutor effect is just so. It's so high.
Yeah.
And just being able to play a 2-mana Battle Skull.
The other thing that I think that makes Stoneforge very troubling is that it's so splashable.
Absolutely. It's not double white. It's 1 in white.
So right, if it were
you can
white,
jam this in a lot of things. And yes, you don't have JIT like you do in Legacy, but you still
Battle Skull's fine.
Yeah, you still have Battle Skull. You still have any number of swords or
swords become way more playable with this card. Instant speed, 1 less mana, just very very reasonable to now play swords and possibly you play swords for. There's all sorts of effects on the swords that are they're objectively extremely powerful effects. It's just that they're way too slow.
Yeah,
Stoneforge Mystic
makes them,
letting you do swords at instant speed is real good.
Well, they're not equipped though.
Right, but instead, so you play Stoneforge, you tutor a thing, and then you hold it, and if your opponent does something, you mana leak it, and if they don't do something, you put your sword into play.
So we do have our round 3 pairings here. We're gonna find a match.
I don't know these guys, but we could try. We could do this one.
Sure.
Okay.
And just to round out the list here, the rest of the cards in the ban list: Summer Bloom, obviously just recently banned. Treasure Cruise also
absolutely
will not be on the ban. And then two artifact lands in Umazawa's JIT, which clearly will not be unbanned.
Yeah. So that's the brief and quick and dirty rundown of the modern ban list. Yeah. So Diego, the thing is with Dredge. You can, with Dredge, it requires, significant deck building constraints where you can just jam 3 Stoneforge and 2 equipments into any deck, that can just splash 1 white source, and then any deck that can splash a white source should obviously be playing Stoneforge, because the power of this combo is insane, right? If they don't interact with your Mystic and you just play a turn 3 Batterskull, like, you're probably going to win that game. So, coming up here, we will have the third round of Modern tonight. We're going to have... Okay. And so, yeah, so Dan, who are we going to watch again?
We're watching Ryan Bogner play against Rick Courtney.
Okay, yeah, Rick Courtney versus Ryan Bogner. Do you know what they're on?
I, in fact, do not.
All right, that's fine. We're going to throw it down to the play area here, and we will see. So I believe that is... Actually, don't. Bogner on the left here? Okay. Right. So yeah, Ryan Bogner on the left. We'll get the round timer started. And Rick Courtney on the right. And so we do not know what they are playing, so this should be a surprise. But we will see both these players 2-0 on the night. So get the decks.
Now while we get set up here.
Yeah. So and we will. All right. So both players shuffling up. I did not catch a glimpse of what Ryan has in his sideboard either. So we are still very much in the dark about what these players are on.
Alright, we got a handshake here, and about to go to our sevens.
Yeah. And this is sort of, we're in the same position here. I don't know if these guys know what the other person is playing, but this is like one of those things in Modern where you sit down for a match of Modern and you're just like, oh, nice recovery there by Ryan to snag that other die. This is like, you sit down for a match of Modern and you're like, my opponent could be playing anything from Ameria to...
Suicide Zoo.
Exactly. Okay, so it looks like Elves on the left and Fish on the right. Oh yeah, time for some tribal battling.
Yep, it looks like the tribal matchup of the century.
Elves versus Fish, only perhaps the only one fiercer, Elves versus Goblins, but Elves and Fish, excepting Eldrazi, probably the two best...
strictly tribal decks?
Strictly tribal decks. Yeah, I guess, is Eldrazi strictly tribal? I don't know. Heritage Druid turn 1 for Ryan. And Rick surely knows what he's playing against now, as I'm assuming he will, go for a 1-drop here, and then Ryan will know what he's playing against. So nobody plays Oboro without...
Oboro pretty much only played in Merfolk, so no surprises here. Ryan's going to play a Visionary here.
Draw a card,
and probably beating with the Heritage Druid.
Oh, yeah, get in there.
Now,
slam and jam.
The one card that is in Ryan's opening 7 is Craterhoof. Now, we're a ways away from having the mana for that.
But
if
it hits the table...
If we get, an Arch Druid...
Silvergill Adept revealing Regery here for Rick. Notably, no Aether Vial. But this is Oboro Palace in the Clouds. Can be used to filter colorless mana into blue at the cost of your land drop.
There's also some interesting interactions. I've seen when Merfolk plays against 8-rack, they're returning it to your hand. Not irrelevant.
Okay, so this is important. So Ryan here, gonna tap 3 mana with the Heritage Druid's ability, plus this, plus the forest to pop out a Collected Company.
Right. And
very, very strong.
And Ryan's choosing to do this here because the Merfolk could very easily have Spell Pierces,
Curse Catchers, and whatnot.
And he just wants to make sure he actually resolves this.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
looks like he's going to get a Visionary and...
A Visionary.
Oh, double Visionary. Hey.
Alright, so just draw 2.
Not terrible. Doesn't seem terrible.
I mean, you're just stacking up your board. Next turn he can make 8 mana. Yeah, wow. That's a large... Okay, this is out of control right now.
So,
Whew.
So Ryan making 3 more mana here. So if he can play like an Archer here, he just wins next turn.
I can't tell what that is. Then is there a... No, it's a Fauna Shaman.
That is a Fauna Shaman.
All right. Is taking a point there because of the... Okay, and Elves versus Fish. I feel like Elves might be winning this game.
Mm-hmm. With Fish just unable to have any sweepers. I mean...
Yep.
There's just no way... You just individually have to deal with these. And at this point, like, it seems very unlikely that you're winning the race. Especially with Rick with a fairly slow draw.
Right. No Aether Vial.
No Aether Vial. His turn 3 is Akira. He's completely tapped out here.
And a Llanowar Elf. And there's a... Oh my god.
And there's a Nykthos. So I believe Rick is actually just dead now. Because this is a Nykthos for 7.
Wrong. Nykthos for 8.
Nykthos now for 8. Yes. So that's just going to be a hard cast Crater Hoof. And Rick is very dead.
Oh my god. So, Crater Hoof for... So there's what, 8 elves on board?
6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 creatures total. So his field gets +9, +9. And then you're going to get hit for...
9 base power plus like 72 from the Crater Hoof buff. It's 90, like 90-ish damage.
90,
yeah.
100, yeah.
All right. Well, Ryan Bogner going to smash game 1. Jesus.
Yeah. And with draws like that, it really doesn't get much better for Rick.
The turn 2 Kogo seems fine.
Yeah, the spreading seas, particularly not punishing against this deck when all your creatures, make
all
mana.
your creatures make mana. Like having an island does not bother you.
It's like necessary to board in Dismembers, but like that's
man.
Some of your.
This cannot
it's
feel
very
good for
limited
the Fish
removal.
player. Yeah.
Right.
It's weird because I feel like Fish is like sort of has more game against like the top tier decks in Modern, but Fish against Elves seems super lopsided.
Yeah, it really is. You don't have any sweepers.
You don't really have like you're not.
You don't even have any good removal for
Right.
the key pieces that need to be removed. You have Dismembers, which are good.
Gut shot sometimes.
Sometimes have gut shot. Sometimes have Vapor Snags, which Vapor Snag clearly not good enough here. And then that's about it.
Yeah.
It looks like Rick does have some number of gut shots, which he's going to be boarding in.
Right, and I mean, obviously, gut shot leading to insane blowouts. I mean, I think everyone remembers LSV at the Pro Tour when Eldrazi came out, just top decking gut shot and killing Frank Lepore at 1. It's again Phyrexian mana doing silly things.
Right, and Ryan's option of hate that he has can be very varied. It doesn't look like he's on the Shaman of the Pack plan. We didn't see any black mana. He had a Horizon Canopy, which suggests that he's not on Shaman of the Pack. But he could have Cyborg Chokes. He could have
Choke.
Yeah, and that
what a card! What a
again,
card!
This is one of the reasons that the Merfolk deck runs Oboros.
Right, because if the choke does hit the table, and budget Merfolk, you just play like 4 Mutavaults and the rest are islands. But that just loses super hard to choke. So, Merfolk obviously plays Cavern, which is like a no opportunity cost, just like mono blue non-island. Plays Oboro, might play a Minamo. Just trying to diversify because if you get choked, you tend to lose those games. Especially when choke comes down on turn 2.
Yeah, choke used to be a much more popular hate card.
Especially against Twin.
Right. It just hasn't seen as much play recently. But, still quite powerful.
I think that, Twin being, like, a Tier 1 deck made Choke a viable hate card. I don't think that there's another deck that runs islands in the quantity that Twin does that's very popular right now and worth playing. It's like, the decks that make blue are, accepting, like, the Jeskai and Grixis control, like, Choke against... Like, Infect plays blue, but you literally choke their breeding pools, and, like, that's not good enough. Like, they kill you with their...
There aren't very many heavy blue decks where you would want to choke.
Right. Like, Blue Moon exists, but Blue Moon is bad. Although Skred is good, and Skred is just Red Moon. So.
But we're going to go into some sideboard games here. Rick obviously has a lot of draws that are much more explosive than that. But even his best draw, I'm not sure would have been good enough.
Oh, I don't think so either. Okay, so Ryan looking at a hand, he's got a cavern and a bunch of stuff.
Do you see that card in Rick's hand? He has a chalice.
No. Rick, please have mercy.
So he's got turn 1 Aether Vial, turn 2 Chalice on 1.
Or just turn 1 Curse Catcher.
Also fine.
I think I prefer Aether Vial. Chalice on 1 seems really good if he plays it now. I really don't like waiting to play Chalice, though.
And he does have a Mutavault, so he can...
Chalice. Swing with the Curse Catcher into a Nettle Sentinel?
This seems
This seems ill-advised.
I'm a little confused.
Oh, he has a gut shot. Okay.
Yeah. This also might be representing mutagenic, but...
There's no way that he's representing mutagenic in a fish deck.
And you never know. Mutagenic can be in any deck.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to see if there's going to be a block here. Definitely representing the gut shot. There it is. Get off my table.
Yeah, and this is a fine trade, too, because once you play Chalice on 1, that gut shot's going to be dead anyways.
Yep. Okay, stick the Chalice. Oh, man. And that turns off a lot of stuff in Ryan's hand.
Now, depending on what Ryan's hand looks like, this could actually do absolutely nothing.
Of course. Of course. That's always a possibility here. For example, this is just going to be like a naked Dwynen's Elite, which is just a bear.
Okay.
Because there's no other elves on the field. Spreading Sea is going to go after one of the forests, draw a card. So the Merfolk deck with a much more controlling hand here. And this is just going to be a swing. Wait for it. 3 mana. Extra damage
Extra damage here, yep.
15 for Rick. So, he has some stuff to deal with, but I feel like that, the Chalice on 1 shut down the early stuff, but his hand is really slow.
And part of the problem with Rick having kept in the Spreading Seas is, he's drawn the second one now, and...
It doesn't do anything because there's an Archdruid.
Right. And...
I feel like this Chalice made it a very, a very sort of oh yeah, you should totally keep this hand, bro. But at the same time, not optimal. Okay, so that's going to be a Maraudry coming down. Still doesn't block the 3/3 Dwynen's Elite.
It does not, but it will allow him to do multiple things next turn.
So yeah, I mean, if he has Merfolk spells, obviously. And Azuri, the draw here. The Archdruid currently tapping for 2 mana. Elvish Archdruid, one of the payoff cards in this Elf's deck.
And Ryan got to fetch down to 19 here.
Gives you a Lord effect and gives you the ability to make an obscene amount of mana.
Yeah, with Ryan only fetching basic forests, it does look like he's just on mono green elves.
Okay. Yeah, and also, he has the Fauna Shaman, so he can toolbox for stuff. Which we saw game 1. Yeah, so I think the play here is probably play Azuri and then tap the Archdruid for 3, play something else, or just Coco like a champ.
Yeah, Coco's pretty good here.
Coco's really good because then your Archdruid will more than likely be able to cast Azuri. Yeah, so Chalice not doing it against Collected Company. And these go directly onto the battlefield. Llanowar Elf Heritage Druid. Oh my god.
Yeah, so he has access to 7 mana right now.
That's a lot of mana.
Potentially more. He taps the 3, plays a couple things.
Taps for 3, plays user. He's got 5.
No, I don't necessarily think he has anything to do with that much.
There's the Surf for 3. I think he's gonna play the Azuri, and the next turn he's just gonna overrun with the Azuri multiple times.
Ooh.
Oh, I lied.
Now this is a Simon Camero special.
This is Lead the Stampede, correct?
This is a Lead the Stampede.
Lead the Stampede. Potentially a draw many. Oh my god.
Wow. This was a 3 mana draw 4.
And he drew a Rex Sage.
Yeah.
Wait, now if there's a mana, I think there might be a mana floating. There is a mana floating.
Mm-hmm.
He can, if he has a 1-drop. Oh no, the 1-drop gets countered by the Chalice. What am I saying? But next turn he can play the Rex Sage and kill the Chalice.
Yes. Not that the Chalice was doing all that much.
No, the Chalice really just slowing things down.
I would almost be more inclined to kill the Spreading Seas.
Absolutely, yeah. Why not? Just get more mana back for yourself. That's green.
Yeah.
Oh, Master of the Pearl Trine, trigger Regery, untap, bam, untap this island. All right. So, what comes next? I guess you can attack here with the Regery for 3, and it island walks.
Yeah, and again, this is part of the problem with the Chalice sideboard tech. Rick just drew another Chalice, which is just not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Chalice on 1 is excellent to get a small portion of draws, but Rick played the turn 2 Chalice and it did 0.
Yeah, this is not really bothering Ryan in the slightest, so I'm not really. Yeah, so this is just gonna be a pass back here. Both of Rick's creatures are 3/3s. He can animate Mutavault. He's got stuff, but Ryan has.
Let's not forget
stuff.
this is a 4/4 Mutavault though.
Oh, you're right. It is a 4/4 Mutavault. Good.
And we are getting close to the point where Rick can just alpha in. If he draws another Lord, and maybe a land,
okay,
he'll just have alpha damage.
Essence Ward in the play here. That should get countered by Chalice.
No, because it was played off of Cavern Cells.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Essence Warden is a green color shifted.
It's like Soul
Sister.
Yep.
So, Rex Sage gonna come down, gonna blow up the Chalice there. This Archdruid taps for so much mana.
Yeah, this Archdruid is currently tapping for 6. Ryan also has a Heritage Druid, so you can tap the Essence Warden and the Rex Sage for some mana.
There's another Heritage Druid.
Ryan should have also gained a life.
Oh, yeah. 2 life now.
2 life now.
21. I don't think that Rick makes it out of the next turn alive, unless he really draws something big. But yeah, so here's going to be a 3 mana. Oh, no, so here's what's going to happen. He's going to play the Azuri, he's going to tap the Archdruid, and then he's going to overrun with the Azuri on the creatures that have non-summoning sickness and just kill Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Or Rick will sack his whole board and lose the game on the next turn. Considering here, pondering, if you play the Azuri, you make enough mana to pump, right? So...
Yep. So we'll pull up Azuri here. Quite a good card. It's only 5 mana to overrun.
Okay. Yep. And that's going to be beats there.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So
he played another Archdruid.
He played another Archdruid because the overrun is only 5.
And pumped. So okay. So that's a 4/4 and 2 2/2s. No. It's a 4/4 and 2 3/3s attacking, and they each have +3/+3.
Yep.
So it's 9 from the pump, and it's 10 from the base. It's 19.
Mm-hmm. Rick at 12.
It's very lethal.
Right, he can't.
What do you block?
He can't put enough power in front of all of this that he doesn't die. But I don't really.
I mean, if he blocks in a way that he lives, he just dies on the next turn.
Right. Once you start losing some of these lords, all of a sudden
there's
your future
so
blocks.
much damage.
Right. And depending on how you block, once you kill a lord,
right,
the damage on your second creature, that could now be lethal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Rick is going to go to here.
Yeah, I don't really see it out here.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, there's no... Even, funnily enough, even Anger of the Gods isn't good enough here because there's 2 Archdruids.
No, it would kill most...
Oh, you're right.
It would kill... No, Anger of Gods would be insane here. It would kill everything.
Yeah.
Alright, and we're going to scoop it up here.
Yeah, and that's going to do it. Elves just destroying Merfolk. If we sound a little bit nonplussed here, it's because that was savage. Jeez. Let's see. Aspect of the Viper. Oh, Cyranosin. Do you mean aspect of the Hydra? Aspect of Hydra is this card. gives you +X till end of turn, where X is devotion to green. Most Elves decks don't use this card. They prefer to rely on Azuri for their pump. It's just like it's not as substantive as having a body that can also pump. Obviously, the Azuri pump costs more mana, but you also get the utility of the Azuri being able to keep your Elves alive. Yes, Hibernation is the... Hibernation, I think... Yeah, okay, so this is the card that Elves needs to beat Merfolk. I don't really know how frequently Merfolk is going to sideboard this, though, unless they know that there's going to be an Elves-heavy meta, because it seems pretty narrow, so... I don't know. I do not know. But yeah, that seems... I mean, obviously that seems insane against Elves. It's just like, oh, you pumped your dudes. Cool. Hibernation, you discard 1 billion cards at the end of your turn. Like, that seems really good. So Dan, again, out of the booth, searching for another match tirelessly. So I am hopeful that we'll get another one here. There are 30 minutes left. Aspect of Hydra actually does see play in Modern, but it is in a different deck. The deck's called Mono Green Stompy. It's an aggro deck. You play a lot of just like efficient green creatures, and you hope that you run your opponent over before they like start dealing with your guys. You're playing stuff like Strangleroot Geist, Leatherback Baloth, Dryad Militant, etc. The deck can have very explosive draws, but it also is like it is very vulnerable to sort of just like removal heavy decks or decks that can block its creatures, like Jund, for example. You know, like Bolt Your Thing, block with Tarmogoyf, play Scavenging Ooze. But yeah, if you want to play, I mean, Aspect of Hydra is in that one deck is a very powerful card because you can very frequently, it becomes like a 5-point burn spell or something. Yeah, so Dan, please. Yeah, so fingers crossed that we get another match here. There's a lot of time left in this round, and we certainly don't want to have to go to a break of any kind. And for people in the chat, this is Timberwatch Elf, played in Pauper. You know, give your Elves some ++. All right. Oh, Dan got another match. What a legend. We are going to be watching people who I don't recognize. All right. All right, so who are we watching, Dan?
We're watching Junji play against unknown.
Jeremy Hips?
Jeremy Hips. Yeah.
Okay, so in Junji on the left here?
Yeah. And we got old school guest commentator Ryan Bogner as well.
Bogner, come on.
Bogner? Yeah.
How you doing, Ryan?
Not too bad, obviously. The match
Yeah.
went pretty well for me.
Yeah, in general, do you just feel super favored against Fish?
Oh, yeah, it's not close. It's like,
Yeah, they just...
I think it's like one of Fish's worst matchups. So.
Yeah,
Sure.
that and Affinity.
Yeah.
We suffer from the same problem. They just can't answer cheap threats.
Yeah, exactly.
And their removal, I mean, maybe a couple dismembers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the gut shot that we saw that got traded for the Nettle Sentinel, but
So,
obviously not
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like happy when they bring in gut shot against me.
It was just like, so he was stranded with another chalice in hand, and they're just...
Well, he was like talking to me after the match. He's like, yeah, I don't know if I should bring this. I'm like, yeah, you just like, you have to hope on the Merfolk side, you have to hope that like somehow your
draw is just that much faster than theirs.
Yeah, like you can make up the, you're just like really unfavored, but like sometimes Elf just loses to itself. So
Right, absolutely. Like, you know, there are definitely hands where you just have a ton of just mana dorks and they don't do anything.
yeah. So Junji has a Delver on turn 1, which is kind of
Yeah. So
what you want to be doing.
yeah, Junji described this as budget Delver.
Okay. And Jeremy looks to be on some sort of ramp deck because that's an Arbor Elf.
It's a Beastmaster Ascension deck. It looks like that's the card in his
Yes.
to the right of his.
I saw Beastmaster Ascension and drew a Heritage shirt, so...
So I mean, I think we're in for like a fun match. Is what I'm saying. I feel I don't really know. Like Delver Secrets does not feel particularly good in this metagame. So like, we'll see. But
all right, so
we have
Beastmaster
to lead the
Ascension.
Stampede on turn 2, which that's an interesting call because if he actually hits, he's gonna have to discard, but he may be baiting a counterspell here.
Yeah,
Right,
I think Junji fetching for a mana leak.
Ooh, and he's taking
another 3 here.
3. Yeah, so he's done 15 already.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing, like, if you don't flip your Delver, this board is going to get out of control and you'll have no pressure. But there's the mana leak to counter the lead the Stampede.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Jeremy with the pass back.
Oh, and he finds the Serum Visions.
Yeah.
All right.
But the art is just terrible on that one.
Yes.
The strictly worst Serum Visions.
Yeah,
Swing
yeah.
for 3 here.
So we're at 17.
I mean, I do appreciate them printing, like, modern playable cards at FNF promos.
I've got no problem with them reprinting a foil Serum Visions, but
Yeah.
I'm just I do have to give him a little grief for that art.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not the
Swift
best.
Spear plus something on top there.
I think he kept the Swiss Spear on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a pass back. So double Heritage Druid now in hand for Jeremy.
Well, he has a Beastmaster Ascension, so
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to play that deck, you may want to just play that out right now, because
That seems good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hoping against a Spell Snare or a Mana Leak, right? Oh, okay.
Okay, so he's gonna play both. Might wanna, wait, see if the second one resolves.
Yeah. Junji with a Spell Snare, by the way, in hand. But not going to do it against the 1-drops.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I don't think Jeremy knows about the Spell Snare, right?
Right, absolutely not.
Yeah,
But it doesn't
so,
have
like,
2-drops, so it's okay.
What is?
Might of the Masses.
Okay.
What is Might of the Masses? We're going to pull
It's
it up here.
+X+X, where X is the number of creatures you control.
So, okay.
So he just attacked for 5.
One mana, for you.
All right. That
Sure.
seems fine.
I'm just confused why he didn't play the Beastmaster Ascension before going off.
Yeah.
All right. Threads of Disloyalty here from Junji going to take over the Heritage Druid, and that's a
Flame? No.
Oh, it's
Pillar of Flame.
Pillar of Flame, yeah,
Pillar of Flame,
exiles the creature.
So, Jeremy is free to run this Beastmaster Ascension in now.
Because he's tapped out, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there it is. All right. I mean, the thing is now he has to deal with this Delver pressure, and he's got not as many turns to do it on.
It's going to take some number of turns to actually turn this Ascension on. And Junji should be at 8 now after taking the 2 there.
I mean, also, Junji's life is under real pressure here.
Mm-hmm.
But in another serve with the Delver.
Putting Jeremy at 11.
Yeah. Untap draw. Okay, so this Lead the Stampede.
The Lead the Stampede was a very good draw. Unfortunately, he's just not going to have the mana to really deploy.
Really? Because he has... I'm just confused on this line, but that's okay.
All right, so there is the lead. Going to look at the top 5.
What do you mean, Ryan?
Well, it seems like you would want to lead the Stampede before you attack here, just because then it would give you more information and you would have more potentially mana to play guys, right? So, and yeah,
Right.
but
And also, if you didn't hit, you could also just attack with the...
so there's a Vapor Snag. That's good for Junji, but it's... I mean, it's interesting because I think the way this plays out is Jeremy just plays a bunch of creatures next turn, and then he's able to attack for lethal the following turn with the Beastmaster Ascension.
Right.
I mean, this Ascension is currently on 4.
Yeah, but he has a bunch of creatures in hand.
Yeah, Dryad, Militant, and another Arbor Elf going to hit the table. Some more mana.
It's
Visionary.
very possible that... Oh, so finally getting use out of the Spell Snare on the Visionary.
Right.
It's very possible
Do
that...
we know what the final creature is?
I think that's an aspect of Hydra, actually.
Okay, and that's the one that's +X+X, where X
For
is
Devotion
the
to
Devotion
Green.
to Green. Yeah.
No, it is very possible that Jeremy's just going to be burnt out here, depending on what Junji's hand looks
Yeah,
like.
I mean,
If he
it's
doesn't have the
close.
burn, though, he kills him because these 3 attacking will trigger the Ascension, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Bolt. Okay, so if Junji... all right, I guess we must have missed a point of life from Jeremy there because he has scooped it up in response to the bolt. What game was that, Dan?
This is game 3, so
all right, so that game is already over.
So I mean, interesting game. Definitely like Jeremy had a surprising number of lines and sequencing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you know, may or may not have made a difference, but
yeah, I think if he plays his creatures out the turn that he attacked instead, he would be able to trigger the Beastmaster Ascension, which would have been the win. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it's difficult. You have your opponent, I mean, you're obviously playing a very hyper-aggressive deck. You have your opponent at a low life total. You're very focused on that. It's very reasonable to miss kind of that kind of secondary line.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And also, Junior with, I mean, just did, 15 damage with the Delver?
Yeah, something like that. It was a lot.
Just flipped the turn 3 Delver and then just beat face with it.
I mean, you know, sometimes that gets there, right?
Yeah.
Well, when your opponent doesn't have removal.
When your opponent doesn't have removal, it certainly helps. I think the 1 point of damage we missed was from the Vapor Snag.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Right. Vapor Snag, you know, sometimes you just get them with it. Sometimes you kill someone through a worship with a Vapor Snag, and then you're just like, oh, yes, this feels great.
That is one way to get around worship. All right, well, I'll head outside, see if we can find one last match.
All right, let's see if we can get that in here.
And then, you got 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. So have you been playing Elves a lot recently, or you just trying it out?
I played it this weekend down in Dallas.
Okay, how'd that go?
I went 11-4.
All right, nice job.
Not too bad, but I would have liked to do better, but you can't reasonably expect to do better than that at a modern tournament. I don't think. So.
Yeah. What were your hard matchups there?
I lost twice to Infect.
Okay.
And it was especially tough because they turned through me on the play. Games 1 and 3.
No.
And it's just like, I can't do anything against this. I would have won if I was on the play. It's like, you know, you lose the die roll. You're on the draw game 1 against Infect, and you lose on turn 3, and then you win game 2 when you're on the play. And
was it to the Blighted Agent too, or was it to the?
2 of them were to Blighted Agent, and the other 2 were just like, it was like basically, if I don't block. If I block, I'm not going to win the next turn. If I don't block, I win on my turn 3. And I'm like, well...
Maybe he doesn't have it.
Maybe he doesn't have, like, everything he needs.
But then he just has the everything.
Well, it's just like, Gitaxian Probe, Gitaxian Probe, Gitaxian Probe. Yeah. It's fine. They don't need to see my ugly mind. It's fine. So could you find someone or no?
No. So there's only one match outstanding, and it's a Bogles player, and he has a Slippery Bogle with 3 Daybreak coordinates on it. So I think he's in good shape.
I think that match is going to very quickly be coming to
I think he is in good shape.
Probably not worth moving over yet.
Yeah. So how do you feel about not playing Shaman of the Pack?
Oh, I mean, I think Shaman of the Pack is a card. They is very much a win more card. Although I'm playing Craterhoof Behemoth, so I don't know if I should really talk about that.
Craterhoof feels like the win more, right?
Well, so I guess Shaman of the Pack, you have to play 4 copies of it for it to really be relevant, right?
Right.
My package is I'm playing a Fauna Shaman, which is good in a lot of different situations, and then a Craterhoof Behemoth, so you still get that explosiveness, but you have a smaller package. Fauna Shaman's also very good post board, where you have a lot of creatures you're bringing in with very powerful effects like Scavenging Ooze or like Reclamation Sage or Essence Warden, where you really want to be able to find that. It's a little bit slow for the current modern environment. I'm not sure that I would play it again at like a major tournament, but it was in my deck for Dallas, and I just I haven't had time to switch it up. I think I may be putting some number of Court of Callings in my sideboard to basically act like a Fauna Shaman. But it's like very similar effects. Fauna Shaman increases your creature count for Lead the Stampede, and your less than 3 converted mana cost count for your collected companies, which is a nice kind of effect. Quarter Calling doesn't do that, and you're already you have 8 spells in the deck. You have 4 collected companies and 4 Lead the Stampedes, so you don't necessarily want to have any number of Quarter Callings in it.
Sure. Well, and that's also always the problem with running Quarter Calling, is that just the natural including of Quarter Calling in the company deck, all of a sudden your company hits, you're getting a lot fewer hits, and you're reaching the point where the critical mass is kind of off.
I think Lead the Stampede is something you really need to be playing. It was very, very good for me all weekend. It's something that it just kind of breaks what normal card advantage is in Modern. Like, being able to play a 3 mana draw 3 or draw 4 on average is like very good.
It seems fine.
Yeah, especially in a deck where there are just like game breaking cards. You draw Archer, you draw
Azuri, yeah,
right.
I'm only playing 3 Azuri, which might be wrong, but I often find myself with 2 Azuris between play and hand, so it's...
The Legend rule is very relevant.
Yeah, it's very relevant for that card, so...
Also, importantly, the ability to just play Azuri and activate immediately is absurd.
Uh-huh.
Right, just like not having to tap for it or anything like that, just like straight overrun for 5 mana.
Seems fine.
Yeah. Just some of the draws that the deck has are just like very absurd. One game, I ended up with Heritage Druid, and 3 Nettle Sentinels on my turn 2, which led to me just like playing 23 power onto the board and then attacking for 23 on turn 3.
Right.
And it's just like, what just happened? And it's all made possible by Lead the Stampede, because you can't. You
just can't
really
draw
need
enough cards.
You need to have the draw effect that you don't get with Modern Elves without the Glimpse of Nature, which is in Legacy Elves, and it's certainly not Glimpse of Nature, but it's a card that like fills that role in a fair way in the modern environment.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, but it sounds like you're obviously very well versed in the Elves deck. So.
Well, I don't know. I played Elves when it was in Standard a long time ago, but when Azuri was like in Standard and all that, back in like the Cogblade era. But yeah, I haven't played Elves in a while, but picked it up and did pretty well in Dallas, so happy with the deck. I'll probably play it for the RPTQ. I'm not sure. I think I mean the issue with the deck is that Infect is just a little bit faster on average and a little bit more degenerate, although I guess like Titan Shift with Sudden Shock is definitely something that kind of keeps Infect in check. I think that's something that we saw a lot at the top tables, was that like Infect, while very good...
Done this a while ago.
It's alright. Oh god.
Oh god. Things have happened.
Oh no.
Alright,
there we go.
Alright.
Hold on a second. We're gonna try to get this back. Alright. I think because we are now experiencing some technical difficulties, we're going to kick it to a break. We'll be back shortly with the 4th round and some more Modern action. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the fourth and final round of Magic here tonight at MTG Card Market. Pairings should be out shortly for the final round, and should have one more match for you. Not sure who we're gonna get for it just yet, but there's some, there's Lantern in the shop tonight. There's Bant Spirits. There's at least, I saw more than one copy of Steel of the Godhead running around. Steel the Godhead, by the way, suddenly a very popular common from, I guess, what is it, in Eventide?
Yeah.
Shadowmoor, from Shadowmoor. But this card, put it on a Geist. Put it on a Geist.
It makes it very difficult to deal with the Geist.
Put it on a Geist.
When Geist all of a sudden is attacking for 8.
Yep, and is unblockable.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing some Lantern control. Let's see where we're at here.
So, he's not. He's got a draw. What about the 9s here? This is Titan Shift again. That's Elves. This is Elves versus Cord. You want to get Titan Shift first? Or this one? I'm not doing it. Let's get. What about this one?
Sure. We'll go out and find an interesting match for you guys.
Okay, yeah. So Dan is going to clear the booth. Dan is a sadist and wants to see Lantern Control on stream. I am a non-sadist and do not want to see Lantern Control on stream. Not because I don't think it's a cool deck, but because watching Lantern Control is not something that I think is necessarily going to be the most lively of matches. I think we might be getting Bant Spirits. It very much we will see though. So Lantern, I think the problem is that Lantern, like we've already had Lanterns already drawn once tonight, and I don't know if we want to go to another. I don't know if we want to go to another draw. So that's not the dream. All right, are we good? All right. So we are going to have Sean Collender versus
Isaac.
Oh yes, Isaac Sherman. So I'm pretty sure Sean is playing Bant Spirits with Steel the Godhead.
I believe so, and I think Isaac is on Elves.
Okay, so Isaac has been on Elves multiple weeks in a row. Do you know which version he plays?
I cut his deck, and he has Elvish Mystic in it. So it is a version with Elvish Mystic.
That is the least helpful thing you could have possibly said.
Can't confirm Elvish Mystic, though.
Oh, well, at least you've confirmed that Elvish Mystic is in the Elves deck. Dan Dwan, everybody, investigative reporter and journalistic hero.
We'll find out soon enough whether or not he's on the Shaman Pack version, or if he's mono green.
Yeah. And there are some Elves that are sometimes on, like, a weird White Splash version.
Yeah, the White Splash,
for
Path to Exile. Also, you get sideboard cards like Stoning Silence.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, Affinity can be very difficult to beat as Elves if you don't, like, Chord for Rex Sage immediately. Yeah.
White also gives you access to Gataki, which is also a fun card.
Very chordable, very, very Cocoable, as it were. So this is going to be a match of two linear decks sort of trying to just run past each other as fast as they can. I'm not really sure how it's going to go. Like, Elves could... I think Elves is just faster, though, usually, right?
Elves generally a little faster. Bant Spirits, though, you have Spell Quellers that can catch pretty much any spell in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, if you catch a Coco with a Spell Queller, you're in good shape.
Yeah, especially with the Elves deck in the main deck, almost no removal.
Right. So the Spell Queller is just like...
2/3
way, yeah, 2/3 way counter spell, yeah. So we will see where this goes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, turn 2 Geist, turn 3 Steel the Godhead, I don't think Elves wins that game. But, like, short of the insane draw from Bant Spirits, I feel like Elves just... Oh my god.
Looks like we might be determining play draw with the arm wrestle.
Time I have seen something like this.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It does look like we're determining play draw with an arm wrestle. It
looks like Sean won that one.
Yeah. Or that Sherwin quickly put a stop to it.
Okay. It looks like we're gonna roll.
All right.
Oh,
6 for Isaac.
9 for Sean. All right, whatever. This is just the luck god's way of showing that the true champion rolls higher and also arm wrestles better.
All right, we'll be starting shortly here.
Yeah. So Bant Spirits, looking to go for the turn 1 Mausoleum Wanderer into turn 2 like Hold Up Rattle Chains, into turn 3 Queller, into turn 4 like Collected Company, for instance, like as sort of their nut draw, or turn 1 Hierarch as well, which is very powerful in the deck. Enables 3 drop on turn 2. Elves looking to do the same thing, just like ramp. Elves obviously looking to ramp harder, but
importantly, the Elves that can play any number of important 3 drops on turn 2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And there's quite a few. Azuri is quite important. Elvish Archdruid, probably one of the best.
So it looks like Sean has the curve of Mausoleum Wanderer, Selfless Spirit, Geist.
Yes.
And lands.
Which, good curve.
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty good. But the thing is Geist does get blocked pretty easily on the ground. So he's going to have to come up with a way to... I mean, obviously Selfless Spirit is the first way, but he needs to come up with a way to keep it alive.
Mm-hmm.
Long enough to just win the game, of course.
It looks like Sean does have the turn 1 Mausoleum Wanderer, which... certainly can't complain about that.
Yeah, I mean, just getting your 1-drop down, threatening future disruption. So yeah, okay. Isaac looks like he is on the Shaman of the Pack version of this because he played a Gilt Leaf Palace. This is similar to Wanderwine Hub from the Lorwyn cards. The elves on that plane are green-black, and so you get to play essentially Bayou.
Yeah, you get just free dual land in that deck.
Mm-hmm. Another fetch here from Sean. We'll see if he fetches or shocks. I imagine you'd want to not shock if you can help it, though, because this Elves deck does pressure the life total, and as I say that, he finds it basic planes.
Alright, so Sean going to go 16 here.
Selfless Spirit
play
hit
the
for
Selfless
2.
Spirit, and then get it for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it is worth pointing out that, since almost all of these spirits are flyers...
Elves just can't block.
Yeah, Elves just can't block. These are just 2 ships passing in the night.
Ah, modern.
What a fun and interactive format.
Hey man, sometimes you play Grixis Control with 4 main deck cryptic commands and your name is Corey Burkhart and you're literally a god and you go undefeated in the Swiss of a GP.
This is true. This is very
Horizon
true.
Canopy here for Isaac.
Alright, so Isaac's going to take 1 here.
This damage is relevant.
Oh, absolutely. It's very likely that the damage he takes from this might shorten the turn by 1.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dwynen's Lead is the perfect
best
draw here, because this gives him access to 5 mana on turn 2.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
And the play?
A second Dwynen's Lead? Okay. If he has a 1-drop, this is 8 mana on turn 2.
He has a 1-drop.
He does have a Heritage Root. So yes, this is the dream 8 mana turn 2 play.
What's he got?
And he's got an Azuri.
Oh my goodness. Pass it back to Sean. Suddenly there's, casual 7 creatures on the board.
7 creatures threatening the Azuri overrun. If Sean just tries to play a Geistus Intrath here, he may very well just be dead on the swing.
Right. Well, so the thing is right now, Isaac can generate enough mana to pump.
He can pump.
He can pump like 4 of his team.
Yes.
So, it's 12 plus base power. But Sean has to play the Geist. Like, there's not an option.
Right. If he doesn't have anything, more interesting in hand, a Spell Queller, Path to Exile, Mana Leak,
just passes it back over. Oh boy.
Yeah, passes it as
he very well
could
be. He very well just could be dead.
Right.
Here.
It is important to point out too that the Azuri is actual overrun. It does grant trample as well.
Right. Does so much damage. Yep. +3/+3 and trample until end of turn.
So we'll see what Isaac can string together here. The double Dwynen's Elite certainly did a lot of work for him.
And you see he's sorting by base power here.
Now, I would be tempted to...
Attacks.
Yeah.
So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power that will be added to in the sum of 12. And there are, so that's okay. So Sean can live at exactly 1 life because he has 4 toughness.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
and he's not killing anything, by the way.
Right, he's not killing anything. If he quadruple blocks something, Isaac can just make the cheeky play of just regenerating it and
Sean is going to scoop it up. Woo-wee. The Elves 2 rounds in a row, showing us that you really don't want to do that to this deck.
to do that,
just like you can't. It's if you don't have the early removal, this deck just explodes. There were so many creatures on the board.
Compared to the previous match, Isaac, like the previous match, Ryan was just able to grind out the Merfolk player. This was actually just an insane draw from Isaac. This is the dream turn 2 where you actually played 8 mana worth of stuff.
Right, and that's well beyond what is just even.
That's just well beyond what is reasonable, right?
Yeah.
You played Dwynen's Elite into another Dwynen's Elite into a Heritage Druid and an Azuri.
Gross.
Yes.
Real gross.
The dream.
Yeah, so Sean looking at his sideboard here, a lot of white cards in there. I just don't know if he has like the stuff he needs to deal with this.
It's unlikely he goes up to things like, Supreme Verdict, which is, really the card that he wants here.
I don't think the Banished Spirits deck plays Verdict.
Right, no, it just wouldn't make sense. But in his colors, that's the kind of card that he would want.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Sean, I just don't know what you do here. This feels like you have to have, because the thing is like Path sometimes isn't even good enough.
Yeah, I mean, Path is obviously very necessary because you have to kill the key creatures.
Right.
But there are so many creatures, right? If you have access,
you have to kill all the Azuris and all of the Archdruids, essentially.
Right. And then sometimes you want to also kill a Heritage Druid. Like, the Heritage Druid can lead to some very explosive
we saw that there, right? Like, the Heritage Druid.
You saw right there that it was just...
This card, just very, somehow 3 untapped Elves. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just... Without having access to Bolt, your range of removal is very limited.
Yeah, no red.
Yeah, what in this matchup, what you really want are sweepers, and it just doesn't make that much sense for Bant Spirits to have sweepers.
Bant Spirits is like a tempo-y aggro deck that's not as like fast as Elves, but it plays more disruption essentially.
Now, some cards that it might have though, it might have engineered explosives.
Ooh yeah,
which could potentially do work. Unfortunately, a lot of your creatures cost the same amount as theirs.
You have to sort of set up when you're going to do your engineered, but this card is very good against Elves. Can confirm having blown up a lot of Elves like this.
Yeah, engineered explosives is one of the MVPs of the last couple of months. Just the flexibility that it gives you.
I mean, the fact that it basically kills Suicide Zoo is real good.
Right. Generally, only playable in tricolor decks.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't quite get
EE up to 3 is extremely powerful, and you just it's like you just fire and forget, and it also can sometimes act even as a deterrent to people playing things, right? Like they have to run it out there, they have to get 1-for-1 with this EE, like they can't not. They it can hold entire boards back. Right.
It does suffer from the weakness where it won't interact with manlands.
Yes, it does not interact with manlands well in the slightest. So, Raging Ravine, real good card.
Yeah, or Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, that too. It's one of the things with Affinity where they attack you from so many different angles with manlands and ornithopters that are 8/2s because they have a cranial plating. And your explosives on 2 is against Affinity is probably I think the best to put it on.
Right. Unless you need to kill Edge Champions on 3.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the killing plating in Ravager is pretty good. But I don't know. It's it can sometimes just be way too slow.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. So we're gonna get into these sideboarding games here.
Yeah.
One issue with the Elves deck, and a lot of these, monocolor decks or dual color decks, is just your access to sideboard hate much more limited.
Absolutely.
Especially when the black is really a splash, all of a sudden you're looking for mono green sideboarding.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things with the Elves deck also is like, is he playing any sort of some of the Elves deck we've seen play Selfless Spirit recently because it's the best way to stop you from getting swept. You've got to wonder if Isaac is playing Chord in this deck as well.
It would make a lot of sense to play Quarter Calling, and I think I've seen Quarter Calling in Isaac's deck, and it is a reason to play. Cards like Selfless Spirit. You can play it, just all of a sudden you can play more bullets in your sideboard. But looks like both players are taking the mulligan to 6.
Yeah, mulligan to 6, not the worst thing, especially when both of you are taking it. You're both going to get the scry and stuff, so.
But yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like Bad Spirits is sort of like has to have the actual nut draw with like multiple spell callers. Or paths.
Well, again, a lot of the Elves decks, you have a lot of draws that lose themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
We've just been fortunate to see like several busted draws.
Right.
But the hands without payoff.
Lands and spells for Sean. 4 lands, 2 non-lands, but I feel like he has to keep this. Yeah. He gets a scry. He's on the play. We will see. He is thinking hard about this though.
Isaac does have a collecting company here, so that's one way to buy his way back in the game.
Sean gonna scry. Looks like he's gonna start off with a Hallowed Fountain, falling to 18 to cast a Mausoleum Wanderer. Obviously, the start that you want from this deck. I don't know if Sean has a turn 2 play, but he certainly has a turn 3 Drog Skull Captain, which is one of which can be an insane card for this deck.
Yep.
Like what? Hexproof for all your creatures. That's silly.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so he does have a Hierarch here. Gonna swing for 2 because of the Exalted. Tie it up at 18. Pass it back to Isaac. So Isaac obviously looking to go for a big 3-drop here, something very powerful that he can use, and just a 2-drop right now. Looking like it's a Visionary with the promo art. Okay. And he'll take a Pain here from the Horizon Canopy, falling to 17 to cast a Elvish Mystic. Hey, it's the Elvish Mystic that you saw in his deck.
Yeah, confirmed.
Thanks for being helpful, Dan.
So Isaac now has access to Collecting Company next turn.
For sure.
Presumably we'll want to play additional land so you can get underneath the Mausoleum Wanderer.
Yep. So Sean here looking to fetch, going to fall to 17
It looks like he might be playing the Drog Skull Captain.
I can see it. That seems fine.
Yeah, it's just the natural curve out.
So this is really interesting for Sean because the Mausoleum Wanderer is now going to attack for 4 here, but it also maintains 2 power when it ends the turn.
Right, this is going to make Isaac's Collecting Company very difficult to cast.
Right, because he only has access right now to 4 mana. Presumably he plays a land, goes to 5 mana, and then you can tax it for 2, which is something that he has to be aware of, because if this doesn't work, the Drog Skull Captain potentially could just beat for 3 and really pressure him out of the game. So he's got to come up with with additional mana. And that starts with a 1-drop. Oh.
So he does have a Heritage Druid and a Dwynen's Elite in hand.
Gross. 12 here.
But yeah, Isaac now is on a 2-turn clock. But, with a Mountain of Elves and a Heritage Druid.
The thing is that he still can't Coco here.
Right. And can with only.
And I would be trying to Coco before Sean does damage with his flying creatures. I think he might have a second draw. Oh,
ooh,
wow. This game is getting out of hand.
Right. Here, I don't believe this is. So this is going to be a 4 powered Mausoleum Wanderer and a
3 power for 7 goes to 5.
I would cast Collected Company here.
Yeah, because you want to make Sean sack that Wanderer before it just beans you for 5.
Right. Else, like, if you try to cast it next turn, Sean still has, 6 in the air. And if you...
you have to kill him right now or lose the game.
Right.
So... he went for an end of turn, and Sean just said defiantly, get him.
Right.
Oh, he drew another one, though, so... But like, he's, I mean...
What can you do? Like, you're facing 6 power in the air.
I think if you Coco into double Shaman, you win.
Is that enough? Yes, that would be... No, that'd only be 16.
Oh, no, not like this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he can also play an elf from his hand and then Coco into double Shaman. Have faith, Daniel. Oh, please. No, play something from your hand first. It's a trap. Sean, gonna fetch and respond. Oh, that... unless this is something real good, I do not like this fetch.
I mean, this is...
If this has to be Dispel.
You're right.
Oh, man, if this is Dispel, though, that is so big, and this game is just over. Shuffle through my library, looking for my Dispel. Oh, no. It's not. If he hits double Shaman, he wins the game!
Not necessarily, right? Because Sean can always, like, Path to Exile something with the triggers on his stack.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So, and again, hitting double Shaman... highly unlikely.
Agreed. I don't know what Sean has in hand, but I better be Path, because otherwise I feel like that fetch is not the play.
Yeah, without that...
Whammo. Okay, it's Archdruid, Nettle Sentinel. I don't think that's going to be good enough.
That will certainly not be good enough.
And Bant Spirit's looking like it's going to win in the air, unless there's another... Is that another Coco?
I think that might be a Coco.
Oh, please. Please don't slow roll us.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes! Ha ha! The third collected company is the deadliest.
Remembering the untap trigger?
Double Shaman when?
Alright, now Double Shaman is lethal.
I want to believe so hard.
Get him.
I see one.
Zuri.
I see one Shaman. Oh, it's not double. Oh my god, it's so much Shaman damage, though.
Yeah, but this is not quite lethal. This is only 10, I believe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sean gonna go to 6 here.
Yeah, but Isaac is confirmed dead in the swing back. Now, interestingly enough, if Isaac had sequenced the first collected company, did not take an additional 4.
Yeah, he would win the game. Right, yeah, and that's one of the things, like, Mausoleum Wanderer, obviously very versatile, sort of a counter spell plus body, but like you can if you force your opponent to sack it at the wrong time, right, you can get a very powerful, like you can get a blowout for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go to game 3.
Isaac, if he cast that collected company, he could have just used that as a 4 mana prevent 4 damage, which would have been good enough. Yeah,
because the Drogsoul captains are only 6, and Sean obviously has like a relatively slow hand.
Yeah, I mean Isaac would have been a 9 instead of a 5.
Right, and then the Drogskulls here for 6, and barring, I actually don't know if there's a sequence that Sean has that lets him do that much damage on a Drogskull.
Sean would need
Coco into the other 2 Drogskulls. That's only 8.
Yeah, I don't know what line Sean has after that.
Wait, no. That's not how that works.
No,
that would be a lot because so there's
it would be 10. It'd be 10.
It'd be 10. Okay, yeah. So Sean has Coco into the other 2 Drogskulls to win that one. But other than that, there's nothing. So.
But yeah, I think that was a crucial misstep there in that game.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just sometimes you don't want to like it feels so unnatural to cast Coco at any time but your opponent's end step, but sometimes you really do need to bait that out.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. But yeah, we're going to get into deciding game 3 here. Looks like Sean's slightly adjusting his sideboard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, just is it play draw? Because I guess Sean lost the first game on the play, but that's because Isaac just went off like crazily on turn 2. But like, you know, I mean, obviously, if Isaac being on the play, I feel like only helps his chances of like, you know, this silly Archdruid immediately sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Sean has been curving out very well.
Yeah.
In all of these games.
The Banned Spirits deck, you know, with Eldritch Moon and Shadows over Innistrad really picked up, like, you know, the pieces that now make it a real deck.
Well, I mean, so you have everything you want to do in Modern, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have some, you know, forms of interaction that can really, you know, give you an edge in the matchups where you need to kill certain creatures. But you also have a very aggressive clock, and you have Collected Company, right?
Collected Company, very strong, obviously.
You have draws that are incredibly powerful, but you can also grind.
Yeah. Sean here with an Engineered Explosives in the opener, by the way.
That is almost certainly what you want to be doing. I
don't know if I like it on 1 or not, but yeah, this is just going to be a hierarch, so... And I feel like if I'm Sean, if I have a basic forest, I might fetch it here just because save my life total, and he follows my advice from afar. Good job, Sean.
If you do set Engineered on 1, it will also get you Noble Hierarch.
Right, so maybe that's worse.
Yeah.
Visionary, draw a card. Doesn't feel good on 2 right now, though. Oh, but maybe you just go 2 for 2 with it? I don't know. Maybe you wait until something happens.
Right.
The
problem is, if you set it on 1, they just don't play anything else into it.
Yeah, that's fair. You want to commit to the board as much as you can. I think there's another Llanowar Elves and a Court of Calling in hand there. So, like, you know, Sean obviously looking for as big a blowout as he can get with the sweeper effect. No one expects that. No one expects the non-Supreme Verdict deck to have the sweeper.
Now, Isaac also does have a Court of Calling in hand, so the range of what he can do is like greatly increased here.
You gotta wonder, like, what can you get with that?
Yeah, don't forget, like
3 mana, and that is a Kitchen Finks.
Right. Let's not forget that you know, just popping Engineered is not good. You can core for Azuri and then give, you know, a bunch of stuff. Regenerate a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Draw here is Spellskite for Isaac. So the thing is, though, is that an Exalted Finks will just beat through that. Llanowar Elf, another one. Okay, I feel okay now that the Heritage Druid is committed. Oh my. Okay.
Now this Engineered is kind of insane.
Yeah, fam, you go for that Engineered right quick. I guess he has Cord up for 2.
Cord for 2 will not be good enough here.
Oh no, Cord for Selfless Spirit though.
Yeah, Cord for getting Selfless Spirit would be good if he had it.
I don't know if he has it. I don't know if he has enough ways to make white mana that it's really a thing, because we haven't seen Temple Gardens or fetches.
Yeah, I don't know if Isaac has any ways of making white mana, and it would be pretty narrow.
Sean, attack with the Finks, and then live your destiny by blowing up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures at once with an EE. I don't know if I've ever seen an Engineered go this big before. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, no. Attack first? No, why? Oh, God.
Now we're going to see. Isaac, I mean, he should just... Sean quite pleased with this this line here. We're going to see if Isaac does have Selfless. He clearly doesn't, else he would just snap that off.
He wants to cord, though, but what are you cording for? If you cord for nothing, Isaac... Oh, he's gonna do it though.
Yeah.
Snapping off the cord for 2. What does? Oh man! Please have the Selfless Spirit.
I mean, the cord could be for something as simple as you know,
Dwynen's Elite.
Or Dwynen's Elite.
Try
or
to
like
rebuild a little bit.
Elvish, like Visionary.
Yeah, try to draw some cards.
Right.
He's really thinking. I'm not sure that he corded with a plan. Honestly.
Yeah, which is always a bit of a problem. I do like him courting here.
I do too, because he's not going to have the ability to do so in the future.
Yeah, perhaps the best option is just a Dwynen's Elite.
Yeah, and it looks like he's chosen that. Man, we are psychic today, Dan.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great. I might almost be tempted to... If he had more mana, I think he would have got an Elvish Visionary. But being unable to... So he could have made 3 more mana because the Dwynen's Elite would trigger, you would get the guy, and your Netto Sentinel's already on tap. So he could have 3 more mana.
But I'm not sure what that does there.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think it does anything.
Now
there.
the question is, Sean, slam and jam with those Sphinxes or no? I like it. I like it. I think he should have attacked first to get the Exalted trigger, but
yeah, it's unlikely that Isaac would have traded
blocked,
3
elves for a thing.
Yeah.
So Isaac gonna go to 17 here. Kitchen Finks just being a good little beater, as it is sometimes.
Yeah, this is going to be fairly difficult to rebuild.
I mean, Visionary is a really good start.
A good way to start. Is that Pendelhaven?
Oh, it is a Pendelhaven.
It is a Pendelhaven.
Serve. This is for 5. Mm-hmm. Sean gonna go to 15. Yeah, dog. How you like it now? I mean, EE on 2. The dream. But Drogskull Captain gonna come down for Sean, and a tapped Breeding Pool, pass it back. So now the Finks on defense, but that seems fine. Like, you just block trade.
Yeah, I mean, you just got a 5 for 1. So
you just got a 5 for 1. How can you lose?
5 for 2, I guess. Right? You lost.
Yeah, you lost. Still pretty freaking good.
Still pretty good.
And another land here for Sherman or for Isaac. And crack. All right, so he can he can choose where he's going to Pendelhaven, except he can't Pendelhaven that thing. So fire up. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 damage coming across.
4 damage total, but only take 2 net.
Yes, so 13. And now, I mean, I guess the Finks don't block a Pendelhaven elf very well at this point, but you got to think that there's got to be something in Sean's.
Okay, Steal the Godhead here will allow him to attack for 4.
Or why 4? It's just 2. Right? It doesn't buff. It's just a Drogskull Captain. Oh, you're wrong. I'm wrong. It's +1/+1 in lifelink.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right. So 13, 17. So now Sean 100% winning this damage race.
Well, Drogskull Captain is white and blue, right? So it's +2/+2. So it's attack for 4.
Yeah. So he was at 17. Goes to 13. 13 goes to 17. And another crack here. So this is with a fair bit of damage because of the Archdruid. So it's 6 total right now. Sean, thinking about trading his Sphinx for one of these creatures.
Yeah, I think I like that.
I do too. There's not much that's going on with them. Get him. All right, so Sean will take 4 here.
5. It looks like Isaac Pendelhaven something before he played the Archerd.
Oh, spooky. All right, go to 12.
But it's hard to race a 4/4 lifelinker.
4/4 lifelink, especially one that flies. Elves just don't interact well with flying. Steal the Godhead here. Very clutch. Mm-hmm. Obviously better on a Geist, but you're not gonna say no to a 4/4 lifelink duder.
Yeah, this is like build your own Batterskull.
Build your own Batterskull needs more vigilance.
Yeah, but this is unblockable.
That's true, and more replayability to bounce it to my hand.
It also has Shroud. Oh, it does not have Shroud. Excuse me.
No.
Your other stuff have Shroud.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like Sean has that much other stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know, dude. I feel like you race pretty well right now. I would be attacking 100% here. You can't let this... Because this Archdruid will start doing degenerate things if you let Isaac draw enough cards. Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, red zone. All right. Goes to 9 for Isaac, and Sean back up to 16. Truly, yeah, this is... The life swings are just enormous. And I think Sean is... Is he out of cards in his hand? Yeah. No, he's got 2 down on there right there. Okay. Spellskite, the draw a little bit late. Could have stolen the Steal of the Godhead earlier. Here's a Slam Jam for another 6.
Yeah, this looks like 6.
All right, so I guess he's outracing the damage a little bit. Another Llanowar Elf's going to come down. 2 more mana. Spellskite in play. Passes it back. So I don't know. I mean, this is getting kind of close.
Yeah, but I mean, Sean, every time he attacks, that's an 8-point swing.
That's true.
I don't know how you beat that, right?
Yeah, so 5 here to 14. I don't know. I mean, if you play an Ezuri, you can just overrun your Spellskite and your Duders.
Yeah, but Sean almost certainly has counter magic left, right?
It's possible he does, but not 100%. Did Isaac rip the Ezuri?
It looks like he might have actually drawn an Ezuri.
Oh my god.
But it also looks like that will not be enough.
Well, the thing is he has 2 turns, right? So like, okay, so he plays the Azuri.
He plays Azuri. Archers would not tap for 5.
Archer taps for 5. So then he can pump his whole team. Oh, he's gonna Coco in response here. Oh wow, we are dice rolling. Spell Queller.
This is looking for the Spell Queller.
Oh my god, I don't know if he hit it. I think he hit a Geist.
I saw a Geist.
A Geist and a Finks.
Okay.
That's not bad actually.
Not bad at all. This also means that Sean now has lethal.
Yeah, Isaac is very dead. If he... Well, okay, so let's think about this.
Isaac has to attack.
Ezuri pumps his whole team, right?
Yeah, so he'll tap the Elvish Archer. That will produce 5 mana. The team will get +3/+3. He's able to swing for 12 plus base. So he's able to swing for...
Attack with your spell, Sky! No!
Yeah, so this is just 9 plus 4. This is only 13, even with Azuri.
Sorry, it's 9. It's 9 plus 6.
Yeah, plus the base. So this is 15.
Mm-hmm. But Sean's just gonna throw that Finks in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Pump the team.
And it will not matter.
Right.
This is not enough. It looks like he did have lethal with the spell guy. He would have forced the chump block with this
Geist. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how much damage Sean took there, but it's this did 3 and these other ones did 5. So he goes to 3 here. Oh, another Drog Skull though off the top.
With another Drog Skull, this game is over. Yep.
And Isaac's gonna give Sean the hand. Gonna give Sean the hand. So Bad Spirit's gonna take it down 2-1 over 21 Sewer with a good point here in the chat actually. Azuri is elf creatures you control. So he did not miss the spell skite attack. Yeah. Yes, and SR63, Dwan and Matt confirmed garbage elf players. I will readily admit to being a garbage elf player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Banned Spirits, just getting there. Steal the Godhead coming up huge. Main deck life gain, seems fine.
The life gain was incredibly relevant there. This would not have been a race if Sean didn't gain 12 life from Steal the Godhead. And, just naturally with Elves having such a little removal, it's just, that
you can put it on anything. You're not afraid at all.
Right. It obviously gets more value if you put it on the white and blue creatures, so it has unblockable and +2/+2. Yeah. But even putting it on the Kitchen Finks and attacking for 4 lifelink
seems fine.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna kick it back up to the booth here. All right, guys. So that is gonna do it. The matches. We're late enough in the round that the matches are winding down, so we're not going to be able to find another one for you. Thank you for coming out and watching the stream tonight. We really appreciate your support. We will be back next Wednesday. But if you're looking before then to, play in a more competitive event, this Saturday there's going to be a standard 1K PPTQ here up at the shop. So come out, battle with your standard decks. Obviously the standard meta settled a little bit, but there's sure to be some crazy stuff in there.
Yeah, there are excellent players here, but it's also excellent payout. If you pre-register, it is $5 off entry.
Absolutely.
So if you are planning on doing this, you can save yourself a little money if you just pre-register. As a reminder, store credit cannot be used for entry.
Yes.
But other than that, MTGCardmarket will also be a vendor at GP Milwaukee coming up next month. It's will be one of the larger sealed GPs.
Yeah.
Of the year, and a good way to wrap up the year. But other than that, thank you guys so much for sticking with us today. I know feeling a little bit under the weather, so
you persevered like a champ, though.
My voice may have been a little off all evening, but other than that, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in the ice next week.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.